All right, brother.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's
Matty
do it.
Wong in the house.
Hey.
He just set up the house, actually.
Nah.
He came in immediately, was like, hey, let me thank you.
No,
Thank you.
it's a collaborative efforts, you know?
I know you're a creative guy too.
Yeah, that's why I feel like we mesh on so many different levels. It's not only the fishing, but the creativity, and now it's like being able to. It probably was fun nerding out with the light stuff. Probably brings me back to the old job where I was like, I was trying to remember the certain terms because it's crazy, man. There's so much different jargon for everything, and then it's just, if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. And I was like, oh yeah, what's that thing called? It's like, oh yeah, that's a crazy arm, or no, magic arm.
Yeah.
It's a magic arm, and then it's a super clamp, also called a mafer, not to be confused with a C. Yeah, it's already.
Oh, I thought you were going to say C-stand when you said
No.
No, when you say flagging, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
this dude is no stranger to the industry.
Oh, yeah.
I know we talked about it before, too, your photography journey and your understanding of light.
Light is something so magical, and I've been a student of the light for, I want to say, about 8 years of my life, like very dedicated to learning light and how to manipulate it and shape it.
Specifically on people's faces, or just?
Both on talent and then also on objects. Because then we used to do everything from a Coke bottle to shooting product to everything down to like lip gloss to a Coke bottle to food, and then a lot of talent. So slebs, the whole nine.
Do you miss it though?
There's parts of it that I miss. I miss having Crafty on set every morning where they make you whatever you want. I don't have to worry about food. It's so nice. You just roll up and you're just like, okay, breakfast sandwich, hold the cheese, extra crispy bacon, and then you like walk over, make your Nespresso. You're spoiled.
It's like a hotel breakfast buffet.
Oh, just fully spoiled. And then there's certain ones you get more used to because you could do like, oh yeah, no, this place makes a really good breakfast sandwich, or don't get this from here, get this from there. And then you just come all diva because you see it on the call sheet. You're just like, oh, kitchen mouse again. And it's just, and I look back, and now I'm on the road, right? And I'm just like gourmet peanut butter and jelly. Yes, there's parts that I do miss. I don't miss some of the personalities I would have to deal with and egos. But on a whole, I think a lot of the crews and the people that I worked with, I do miss those people.
You still like keep in contact with them?
I mean, nowadays with social media and stuff, it makes it a lot easier.
Do they trip though? Like, wait, what are you doing?
It's fun, because then they remember me talking about it. Like, they're like, why can't you make the job next week? And I'm like, bro, I told you I got this tournament. And they're like, oh yeah, okay, he's gonna be fishing on his boat. And so they would give me crap. They're like, no, it's okay, man. He doesn't want to work this job. He's got to go fishing. And I'm like, guys, like, I'm working to do this. I'm not doing this to go and work. Like, I'm working towards this other goal, and this is my sanity, and this is like my alone relaxation time. So it was cool. Then they would get it, and a lot of times, clients would understand it, whatever. I would only tell my closest clients, guys that I've worked for a while, and they're like, "Oh, sick, good luck," because I knew that they knew that I would leave them with good hands. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't leave them unattended with someone who didn't know like what was going on or the way that they like certain things lit or whatever. And so I'd always make sure to leave them in good hands. And then, so when it all happened, I remember I made a phone call. I worked very closely with this guy named Ryan McGinley. And he's an ad photographer, a celebrity photographer, shot a lot of magazine stuff. I'm even forgetting the jargon that we used to use for that. And it's not, I'm glad that I have, but
that's a good sign, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, when I called him up, I was like, hey man, I got some big news to share with you. And he was silent on the other side. And I'm like, I won a national championship, and I'm going pro, like, full time. And he's like, oh, thank God. I thought you were saying that you're going to start like shooting full time and you're going to start taking my clients. And I was like, no. He's like, because I would light everything for him. And he would he's such a incredible photographer on connecting with his subject, but technically he's not too technically savvy. And so he brought me on to be able to take care of all the technicality stuff. And so he would just be like, here, just take the camera. And I'm like, okay, close down, third here, okay, go. And then just constantly checking, and so I missed that aspect of it, but it was really cool to get the support from guys like Ryan and a couple other of my clients. So when I was able to step away from it full time and chase this fishing career, it was definitely nerve-wracking because you work in the production world and it's you kind of go paycheck to paycheck. You choose the clients you want to work with most of the time, and then you have long breaks in between, and it's kind of it was a weird transitioning into the fishing space where you kind of negotiate all your contracts up front in the beginning of the year, and then from there you're just managing your relationships and making sure that your deliverables are on time and that you're just representing the brands as best as you can. So
wait, what are your deliverables?
Well, the way that I structure it is I try to give them certain content and whatnot, just to help make the relationship a little bit more beneficial for them as well. I mean, because having the background of being able to shoot photo, video, and understanding production, it just made me more of a well-versed angler for these companies versus someone that's like, y'all, I just fish, man. Like, it's like, I don't know what them FV stops and shutter speedies,
Basically one GoPro.
Yeah.
That's half blocked by a water bottle. Like.
Exactly. And that's industry standard for them. And so when they're like, oh, wow, he takes legit photos, I'm like, it was my job. And so it's helped me with a lot of my relationships professionally. And it's been fun to take the cap on and then change the cap, but I've been really trying to just focus on the fishing part. But
8 years, you say, right? You're learning light. You're a student of light. You're practicing it. You're in these very, I don't know if you call it high stakes, but people are paying for your service, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's stressful.
And, we kind of talked about that one time where I'm like, yo, you got that like LA productions on set experience.
It's
and
intense.
you're talking about like cutting your teeth, third director to second?
Well, yeah, third assistant, like fourth assistant, third, all the way up to a first, and then lighting, directing, and then shooting. It's intense, man. LA scene is wild. It was an incredible environment to grow in those skills because of how scrutinized everything was.
Yeah.
And there was no margin for error.
You're done, right?
You're done. Like there's no sick days. People are like, dude, your job's sweet. I'm like, yeah, but you can call in sick. I call in sick. I get erased from the industry. You don't call in sick.
Is that same for fishing?
Yeah, you can't. I have to have a medical exemption for me to like not show up at a tournament. And then I would think I would get fined. So you have to show up at all, I think it's eight events throughout the season. So you have to be there. So it's kind of the same where I'm like, well, I'm used to this. Like, even if you're sick, you just, you still got to go.
Wow. The hard part, I think, for someone going from, let's say, that kind of job to this, which you could argue is even more work. I think it is more work.
Yeah.
As we'll kind of get into. But one part of that is that what kind of support network do you have? And when you kind of go off on your own, you realize real quick, like, you have to do a lot of things, even just something like health insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Getting health insurance.
Which I don't have.
See? Like, I mean...
Thanks, bro. Sore subject.
You know what I'm saying? But, you got to take care of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it oftentimes requires you doing a lot of things that you didn't normally used to do. And you don't feel adequate at doing. You might get taken advantage of by an opportunistic salesperson.
Well, I think through the rigor of running a business in Los Angeles, dealing with those types of personalities, dealing with certain types of production houses, with certain ad agencies, dealing with certain clients, I've learned a little bit of all of that. Like negotiating was a big one because, being an independent contractor in Hollywood, you're negotiating all your rates. And so it's knowing how to say no, knowing how to bend in the certain places where with the new relationship, sometimes you'll compromise a little bit in to know what you're working towards, if it's rate. And then, but then I think the hardest part is balancing, like you said, it's you have all these things that you're having to take on. So it's trying to figure out, okay, the self-care.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at it, you know?
Wait, did I sleep?
How much did I eat today? Oh crap, I literally didn't eat anything. Like I just need, I need to force myself to eat.
Because there's no lunch break.
No lunch break.
Yeah.
It's the time, like the clock's ticking the whole day. So I find ways to be extremely efficient when it comes to eating lunch. It's just like throw it in a shake and just shake it up and drink it. And so that's usually what my daily, well, if I'm on the water competing, that's what my substance is like a protein shake. And then it's just hydration, because then you need to make sure you're hydrated.
But are you having like a heavy breakfast, dinner the night before, like intentional about that? Or
I try to be not too heavy of a dinner the previous night. And then breakfast is normally oats, because I mean, like they say, it's like oatmeal sticks to your bones. And I feel like that's a type of energy that it's pretty consistent. I don't spike too much with blood sugar. So you can stay pretty consistent with oats and some type of fruit in the morning. Yeah. For those who don't know, it's like you're standing on a boat for 8 to 13 hours, depending on the time of the year.
Sun up to sundown.
And sun up to sundown. And you're standing, and I make multiple thousand, like couple thousand casts in a day.
Do you count your casts?
I haven't, but in some of the edits that I've done, I've like, okay, I know that this stretch was 300 yards and I made approximately 70 casts. So if I fished 8 miles,
gotcha,
and then went through it 2 more times in a day, is at least it's over 1,000. That's for sure. And so you're constantly engaged mentally. It's a different skill set, man. It's wild, because it's like in Hollywood, I'm like talking, Yeah, people, if you have to be a people person, you know how to navigate and negotiate certain personalities and egos, right? Working in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And now in the fishing world, it's different.
It's like silence. Well, you have that one, warden on the boat too?
Yeah. So it's the marshal, right? Okay. The marshal's watching you, and that just depends on, how pori the guy is.
I see some of your videos, like he's taking a video, or like you're like, hey, get a shot of this. So I'm like, that's someone to talk with, and not let the sort of loneliness get to you.
Like everything, there's a balance, right?
Yeah.
So if the guy's just giving you his life story, it really sometimes can take away from what you're trying to focus on. And other guys are a lot more blunt than I am. Like there's this a Japanese guy, Masashita, and Masa would be like, and he just very, very minimal English. He'd be like, what I fish, no speak. Okay. And that's what he would tell all of his marshals. He's like, I focus. I'm like, dang, Masa, good for you, bro.
He just has a sign on his back. Don't talk to me.
And I'm like, that's awesome. And for me, it's like, I'm more known in the industry now for being that approachable, talkative guy. So then when people go on the boat with me, they're like, man, I got like a million questions for you. I'm like, sick. Condense them to 10.
I gotta produce.
I gotta like cash check right now.
On that note of talking, because I've talked to a lot of people fishing here, and me, like, I'm not a fisherman. I'm a hobbyist.
You are, bro.
I'm a hobbyist who I just really enjoy it. And I enjoy that it's something I can actually provide to.
Oh yeah.
When things go right. And
sorry, gotta cue the doodoo boy mahi photo. Provider, bro.
Hey.
Provider.
Hey, doodoo boy. So he was like, why did he call you that? I was like, well,
he had to do it, and it turned our day around. And then
with the mahi.
double mahi
right after that.
Right after. And you literally called it.
That's funny.
I'll never forget that. I hope you don't either.
No, I thought about it after. Like, that was actually 3. Like, if you think of fishing like Pokemon, like, gotta get them all.
Yeah.
3 species I never caught. The mahi, the shibi, and then actually, when I was thinking about it, the lie. When we was
lie
for bait, and then we got that one lie.
Anopelu.
It's 4 then.
Yeah, 4.
Because 4 species I never caught was on that 6-hour day.
Yeah.
And I was telling people like, oh yeah, Boston whaler. So I know that term now.
Yeah. Yeah.
An unsinkable boat.
Yeah.
Although at times it just felt like a raft. For me, I'm a land animal. You know what I mean? You was nice too. It's like I could tell you was looking at me, and I was like, just look at the horizon. Don't.
I could tell.
But then when I followed you, did you follow? I was like, yeah, I did.
Well, okay.
But my land animal nest was like put on full display. I'm a land animal, but I love fishing. I'm going with a hammer, right? So this is like the best possible situation I could do. Like if you're an aspiring filmmaker and like Christopher Nolan's like, yo, come on set.
Yeah.
Like you want that, right? So to have like you be like, oh, let's go. Yes, of course, automatic. I realize how not of a boat person I am, but I get to experience catching these fish that I never caught, and amazing, like mahi, the sashimi that when we were cutting it.
Yeah,
I was like, man, I've never had just raw mahi. You always get it battered and with tartar sauce, whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of things make that whole day memorable.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. So
special
again,
for both of us, bro.
Thank you.
Oh, of course.
And within
many
that,
more to come.
Within that, the memorable Doodle Boy quote. Because I was, bro, I don't know. Like that's why I asked you too. What do you eat before you go on a boat for hours and hours? Because I know what not to eat.
Yeah. Well, so for me, it's like you got to make sure it's all about your thinking long term, right? When it comes to digestive and then power. So with our joints, everything, people get weird about bananas, right? And like the whole bro, you can bring banana on my boat.
Yeah.
Bro, it's bad luck. You know, it's like, bro, I won a national championship with a banana in my boat. You know, it is for me, it doesn't matter. And so potassium, bananas, they're super good for your joints. And then also, I mean, fiber, everything. Oatmeal, as much as some people, it's hard to chow down oatmeal. Do it oatmeal. However you can do it. Oatmeal. It's just easy. Less acidic, more neutral oats.
What about dairy?
Depends on how good you are with dairy. I'm pake, so negatory.
The ancestors.
Yeah, the ancestors.
Because I was thinking like muesli or something. Because you get a little bit of fruit, oats, but it has dairy.
I think Greek yogurt. So a Greek yogurt, I can do Greek yogurt with fruit. Granola, that's also a good one too. So if that's you can do like the parfait way, or you can go the oatmeal way. But for me, that's what I found to be the most consistent. And then I just snack with either dry fish or jerky, and that way I just get protein, and then that's just helps me, I think, mentally, and then hydration.
No caffeine.
I try not to. I really try to wean. I'll have a morning coffee because I'm usually waking up at like 4, and then you're on the water waiting for blast off by 5:30, and so usually I'll just do black coffee in the morning, and then I'll either sip on that throughout the day, but I don't like to do like an afternoon just because then I usually just crash pretty hard. So I just I do additives for water for hydration. So,
like those packs of powder you just pour in a bottle.
Yeah, like I know BioSteel went out of business. I think they went bankrupt, but I was using that for a little bit, and that's good because it's B12, it's potassium, it's vitamin C, and then it's a bunch of other vitamins, which is good.
Sounds like that's a Make Sense sponsor. You hooked that up?
I know you guys want to come and sponsor me, bro. I know you guys not doing so good financially, but no, I'm kidding. You guys are out.
The whole thing about being a professional fisherman, which I know nothing about, but he does. Like, there's so much more than the fishing. That's why you can go in on just nutrients and energy. I'm sure you could go in about sleep, travel, trucks. You know what I mean? Transportation, all of this other stuff that you need to know.
And I'm still learning, along the way, because when we were talking about like my previous job, I didn't have to worry about nutrition. We had an on-set chef. Yeah. Breakfast catered, lunch catered, snacks. Yeah. There's always crafty. And so I don't have to worry about that. So now it's something I have to worry about. Transportation, the truck, like you were saying. Yeah. And so just making sure that the truck has like, right tire pressure, making sure you get enough gas, which, I mean, sometimes when you drive 10, 12 hours, you kind of slip on like, oh crap, I got to stop and get gas.
Especially for on Pololo Boy.
Pololo Boy, where I used to drive 45 minutes is long time. And so, yeah.
Anytime you're counting a drive in hours in Hawaii, you're just like, what? Maybe Big Island, but or if you work and you got to go 3 different sites on Oahu. Maybe you're talking hours a day in a car, but it's very normal for people who live on the mainland, Japan too. But in your case, you're like literally driving all around the country. And so like, I thought, you know, this guy's a fisherman, but this guy's also literally doing road trips.
Oh, truck driver.
You're a truck driver.
Yeah. I'm a professional truck driver that fishes part-time.
So more time behind the wheel than on the lake.
Yeah. I mean, when we get on the water, because it's like you'll have a long drive to get to the location. And once you're there, I try to set up wherever I'm staying within 15 to half an hour of the lake itself. So my daily commute isn't that bad versus on the water. Average about 250 hours on the big motor, on the big motor that powers the boat. But then the trolling motor, which is electric, that's probably
way more.
Way more.
Because you're like jam into a spot and then just trolling along that spot.
You jam in, get about 200 yards, 150 yards out, kill the big motor, and then you just slip in silently. And then you just stay on that until you gotta move spots, or sometimes you'll just run like, I'm gonna run this next 5 miles on the trolling motor, and then you're just casting, breaking down certain areas. It's a trip. Like you're saying, there's so many different things to pick up on and to learn, and it's all a learning curve for me. And now I feel I'm about to go into my 3rd season, so I have a lot more experience and kind of what to expect. Versus before, bro, I had so much stuff that I never even pulled, like that lived in my truck. Yeah. That I was just like, oh yeah, no, for sure I'll use that. Oh, like, oh, for sure. Like, oh, my skateboard. Oh, I gotta leave them in there, bro. You know.
That's how we get a boogie board too.
Yeah, just like silly stuff. You know, I'm just like, I'm never gonna, bro. Okay, I gotta have one a skateboard. And then so there's certain things that I've learned to trim out that I'm just never gonna touch throughout the year.
I mean, so when I only started watching like bass fishing channels because of you, right?
Okay.
And already it's easy because I watch like Hawaii fishing channels already. And I watch some Japanese guys. There's a lot of animals in Japan.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
But then I see like, what is that landscape look like content wise, but also like if I was there, I see so many things that are same, but different.
Yeah.
And for you, saltwater, freshwater, also like island to the mainland, right? You're to me, it looks like seamless back and forth. And when I see like, for example, your truck, your boat, and you say like in a shot or something, and I'm like, does he need that much stuff?
Yeah.
Or in the boat, I didn't even know like there's all this like compartments and it's just boxes like this, but like
that's a baby box.
Choke. And I'm thinking, how much stuff is needed for, like it seems like you got to draw the line somewhere.
There is.
How do you decide where to draw the line? If it's hemo this, which means it's get rid of.
Yeah. Sorry.
For all your fans,
we gotta have a pigeon box in the corner just every time. just hemo, to rid of, to throw out.
How do you decide? Today this is staying, and today I'm taking this.
Location, so regional, seasonal. Those are the 2 main. But then you also have to think, since I'm on the road the whole year, the whole season, I have to pack for, let's say, 3 different seasons. And then regionally, 3 different, the South, the Midwest, and then North.
That's
and
the Great
the
Lakes.
Northeast is the Great Lakes.
Okay.
And that's a little bit more simple, just because of the species that we're chasing, and then the techniques. It's very technique specific up there, and so you don't have so many different things. All this stuff so I brought a couple things for show and tell.
Yes, please.
Just for,
Thank you.
This is all for Hawaii, actually. This is all my Hawaii stuff. But, like this thing, it has like a little tail on it. And they call this a tailspin, as it looks like what it is. And so you have bigger baits called spinner baits, or other things called chatter baits, which are meant for covering a lot of water. And typically during when the water is warm enough where these fish are aggressive. And so you have to make sure you have all these different colors of chatterbaits and spinnerbaits, because you have to match the forage the bass are feeding. So in the South, they're going to eat more bluegill colored perch, brim, they call it, colors. And then when you go in certain areas, it's going to be more shad base, which is kind of like ayu.
Yeah. Shiny.
Shiny, little. And so you have to find stuff that mimics that. And then you have crayfish imitation. And then like other stuff like this, where it looks like a baby bass.
Is that what a baby bass looks like?
Well, they call it the baby bass, but it's kind of similar. It's a two-toned, color where you have, and then so this would be more of shad. So I brought you 2 different styles, and these are for Lake Wilson. And then, and I'm sure you can get bit with this also in the rivers if you wanted to go for smallmouth.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's why you have to have, and then a different segment is
let's hold it right here.
Big baits.
Focus more.
Focus more. Okay, there same plane.
There,
okay.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. Okay, smart. Not the autofocus kind. He locks his focus, folks. He's a professional.
Because I'm by myself too.
I love it. Okay, so yeah. This is a glide bait, which is kind of cool because they're.
Oh, it's I thought it was a swim bait. I was wrong.
They call it swim baits are typically something that has a boot tail or it has a swimming action, but not to be mistaken by a swim bait culture, which is big baits. And this would fall under that category of a swim bait. And the specific type of swim bait that this is a glide bait. It has a hinge on it. And when it goes through the water, it's gliding left and right. And so with a different articulation of the rod and the reel, you can actually drive it to do different things. And yes, it's a pretty decent sized bait. It's like the size of my hand, and bass are pretty aggressive when it comes to certain size lures, and depending on the region that you're in, that you can target a bigger fish with this. And so it comes down to a lot of strategy, a lot of like, how much time do I spend throwing a big bait where you have less possibilities of catching numbers of fish, but your probability of catching a larger fish goes up, versus, okay, I just need to get fish in the boat to get a limit, because your whole thing is you have to weigh in 5 fish. And so if you're just chucking this thing around all day, you might only get 2 bites, but they're going to be big, but then you're not going to come in with a limit. So there's a lot of strategy there. And so you want to make sure to have enough lures for every state that you're fishing, and the specifics, the colors, and the time of year. You have to, for me, I just pack it everywhere I go. And so like some guys, they have like they're most of the guys on tour, they have their homes that have pegboards and pegboards in their man caves of all their extra tackle. So that when they go, okay, we're going to go down to Alabama, Smith Lake, I can bring, 4 packs of this, 4 packs of this, and then X, Y, and Z. Versus me, I'm just like, I got to throw it all into a tote.
Because you have like no home, I guess.
Yeah.
You're on the road.
Yeah, just on the road full time.
So you need every region and season at
your
accessible
disposable.
To you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then let's say you start going through that specific bait. Let's just say they're on small flukes and you only have 2 packs. You're like, okay. Hey, what? You get a couple of packs of this? It's like,
how is that culture though?
It's cool. It's
like
cool.
In the middle of a tournament.
Yeah. I think everyone likes to help out in that sense. And especially it's not like you're like, hey, what color are you getting them on?
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, do you got any like green pumpkin brush hogs? They're like, yeah. They're like, oh, what are you doing with that? You're like, don't worry about it. Like depends on how close of a friend he is.
Yeah.
But for me, it's I have to keep my circle super small. It's literally like 2 people that I talk to, and fully disclose everything. Like what I'm getting bid on throughout my day, what kind of techniques, location specific, and terrain that they're feeding on. And then everyone else, it's just like, generalized. Oh yeah, they're eating moving baits, which means like you're retrieving.
Yeah.
Versus, they're just all slow stuff, which is like a drag and a shake or whatever. But I've learned that I have to be very specific with the people that I actually disclose information with, because everyone's out there trying to win $100,000.
In that sort of spirit of sharing, because you know how people get about spots, surf spots, fishing spots.
Yeah. Like, territorial.
It's, like you said one time, you show up in the morning and there's a bunch of people who saw the tournament day 1 and it's day 2.
And they're sitting right
like,
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, bro, really? And so there's a lot of that too. So it just depends on the region.
Did you ever see a fight?
personally, I haven't seen any physical fights. I've seen guys like, get all whatever beef verbally. And I've been in a couple. But it's more so there, like people trying to bully me out. And I'm like, bro, this ain't high school. Like, I have fish here. I can show you on my graph, bro. I have waypoints. I've been fishing this all week in practice. You're not going to just pull up on me and tell me to leave. And so there's that, where it's like the guys have been doing it for decades that they feel entitled. And so when they see a younger guy that doesn't look like them, that's not a big player of the sport, and we're fishing the same water, they're like, bro, beat it. And I'm like, we're gonna share it, like, because there's no encroachment rule.
I was gonna ask about like the technical part of a tournament.
So there's no encroachment in other tournaments. You have to be within a cast distance, or can't be within a cast distance of another boat, or X, Y, and Z. On the elites, the highest level, it's like, no, first come, first serve. You roll in, and then obviously there's a sportsmanship rule. So as long as the guy's not casting over your line, but that kind of stuff happens too, or they'll pull in, just like cast right over the bow of your boat. And you're like, dude, like what's, really? And so that's why there's cameras that are fully rolling all time. Cause then if you can't resolve it and be like, all right, fine, I got footage of you pulling this stuff on me, man.
Oh, you mean the actual tournament's cameras, not like Matty Wong?
Yeah,
YouTube.
so I have my YouTube cameras rolling, but then there's an actual, there's a camera that needs to have sight of your live well where we put the fish. And then also it has to have sight from 3/4 of the back deck all the way to the front where I stand fish, just in case there's some type of altercation or an incident happens regarding boating or safety, or also cheating. And that way the organization Bass, they can request for your footage. You have to supply it, and then they can make a judgment based off of what the footage says.
Have you ever seen a first versus second, for example, like a placement decision change because of footage that was revealed, an infraction made, or?
No, but I've been in a situation last year where I had a chance to win it, and I came in third out of 100 anglers. So it was like my best finish that I've ever had.
Is the Pro Elite?
Yeah. And
so that's the top of the top.
Top of the top. And so this was an elite event on the Sabine River, which is down in Orange, Texas. And I had found this stretch, and I didn't know that the guy leading it also found the same stretch, but we were there during different times. But his roommate saw me fish it. And so there was this whole thing where like his roommate told the guy got my number and called me, and he's like, yo, I've been fishing where you caught that bag. Cause I caught a big old group of bass and weighed a really big bag on the second day of a tournament. And he's like, hey, I've been fishing there. Like, will you let me have it for 15 minutes in the morning, and then you can come in, we'll share the water all day. Because he was leading it, I was like, yeah, dude, sure. And that's the sportsmanship side, where it is considered like the gentleman's sport, where it's like you do like, okay, you're leading it, I'll give it to you for 15 minutes, not a minute more. And so, but with that too, people like to push that because they're like, oh, okay, maybe Hawaii boy will be a little soft, And so like
one more cast.
Yeah, so like day 3, or it was day 4 going into the final day, he's like, hey, let me have it for an hour. And I was like, bro, you're high. like no, you're crazy. And so I lost a big fish. I got in his head a bunch, but it was in fishing. There's a term where it says when it's your time, there's nothing that can stop you from winning. So when it's your time, it's your time. And so it's like almost spiritual, because when you're meant to win, nothing's gonna stop you. Mm-hmm. Like everything is gonna happen the right way. You're going to land the fish that you didn't think you were going to land. You're going to make a cast that you just wouldn't have made. Mm-hmm. Everything's just going to line up, and you're going to win that tournament. And that's just what I believe. And a lot of people have a similar, idea around it, because when it happens, like for me, when I won the nationals, things just clicked.
Which, by the way, watch that video on Matty's YouTube. I watched it a few times.
Oh, really?
Because like you said, it's like really you didn't think you were going to win. And so most of the video is just, I got my limit. Maybe, what do you call culling, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep this one and that one.
don't ruin it for everyone else. I gotta encourage people to go and check it out.
No, go.
Yeah.
Look,
Thank you, bro. I'm humbled that you watched it, dude.
Bro,
it makes me happy.
You know why? Because I think fishing is one of those categories or niches, whatever you want to call it, on the internet where people in it are in it.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those, like, you got diehard super fans.
Oh yeah.
That it's easier to sort of be a newcomer on the scene, especially when you highlight your background in content creation. You know, not to diminish your actual skills of fishing, but paired with this history of content and stuff, you have a bunch of diehard fishing fans that if you jump on that scene, you can fish.
Yeah.
You've proven it. But then also you bring this background and there's a little something special sauce, like Hawaii guy, you know what I mean? What like that in itself too is kind of a bit of a stars aligning, and it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
It's happening right now.
It's crazy, man. I feel so incredibly humbled and grateful that it just, everything is like, I feel like when it happened, it was like the moment. However, whether it's, it was fate or it was God or it was just the universe or everything. But I feel like up until that point, everything that I've done in my life has been a collective to come together for this pinnacle. Just the time on the water, the fishing, whether if it was the time in Hollywood with like the photo stuff and the content creation, and whether it was filmmaking or if it was the acting part, like.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it was just, I felt like it was a culmination of everything where I'm like, wow, okay, now I've given this next phase of my life where I feel like everything's aligned, and I'm grateful that I have was able to grow a pretty cool fan base pretty quickly, and I'm just still kind of in awe and shocked and humbled by all of it.
And in all honesty, it still feels like the beginning. It still
I hope it is. I'm not sure about the tournament scene. Is really grueling, and it's pretty taxing mentally.
Can you lay that out? Just what is a tournament season at your level of being a professional fisherman? Okay,
so we start in February, and typically we start in Florida, but this year we're starting in the south of Texas, and we have back-to-back tournaments. So we have 3 days of practice, which is 30 minutes before the sun up, 30 minutes after the sun goes down. So 3 days in a row, and then right into 4 days of tournament. And then when we have double headers, it's literally back to back. So like 1 full week of fishing, turn around, drive to the next spot, another full week.
And you only have the last night of the first week to get to
the next place, get settled in, pull out new tackle for that next spot, right into it, right? You don't really get a breather to go take a look at the town. Like, what's the town like? It's like, no, like, where's the grocery store and where do I get gas? Go in, get your groceries for the week, fill up gas, and then you're hitting it next thing in the morning. And then from there, I have a schedule with seminars, trade shows, and that other stuff. So then I'm gone. That like I'll be gone for like another month after that. Right after like 2 back-to-back tournaments, boom, a bunch of trade shows, that other stuff, and then the next tournament happens. So you don't have time to like, oh, I have 2 weeks here. Okay, I can go. Like, it's usually your sponsors have everything that are, there's like a hierarchy of importance. Like, hey, we need you at this trade show. We need you at this trade show. Or, we're doing a release here. And so through all of my different partners that I'm with, I need to make sure, and I want to make sure that I'm available for them. And then it usually goes right into another tournament. So from February through August, I'm on the road. And whether that's in the South, whether it's in the East Coast, whether it's Midwest, I'm just basically living out of the truck.
And it works like an accumulative, like you're ranking through each tournament, culminating in a probably like finals.
Yeah, so they call it Angler of the Year race. So it's the AOI, and it's your points and your finishes and the averages throughout all the tournaments.
So you can have the person who didn't win anything in the first half of the, kind of.
You can't win AOI like that.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, because it's crazy, bro. Like the guy who wins AOI, you have to be Like everything has to line up for you because you win another 100 grand. So
wait, so each one of these tournaments is 100 grand?
Each one of these tournaments. So we have 8 scheduled events
Okay.
plus the classic, which is for 300 grand. So you have to qualify for the classic. You have to be in the top 40 in AOI points, and then you qualify for the next year's classic. We have 8 regular season stops. Each one we fish for 100 grand. And then you fish for 100 grand for the AOI at the end of the year. And then they pay down to ranking up to like, I think 30 or 40 in bonuses.
Okay. So you're still getting paid if you're not.
You're still getting paid
winning.
if you're not winning. Like if you make a top 10, you're making a check from anywhere from like 20 to like you get 30. I think like on the Sabine River, I think I got a check for like 30 grand. For
And what place were you?
That was 3rd place. So I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
Like the most money I've ever made at one point fishing, you know, like just to get a check.
yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Was that a 4-day tournament too?
That was a 4-day tournament.
So you can say a week then.
It was so grueling.
The thing, like I'm hearing about it, that's like just sounds the most taxing, most grueling is not just the travel. I mean, obviously that's kind of an obvious one, driving and stuff. And I am assuming people who have done this a long time or got deep pockets, sponsors or themselves probably have like
They have drivers,
an
too.
RV and like a driver, somebody cleans their boat. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
right?
you nailed it. Yeah.
So basically, I can go and check out that restaurant, or I have that time where I don't have to go shopping and get gas. Do all that. But that to me sounds like the real fight. Getting up, thinking about what you're gonna eat, gassing up. Did I bring the right stuff? Oh, I only have 1 bag of this. Like the multitask nature
Oh my gosh, dude.
of what you have to deal with. It sounds like what you did at LA Hollywood, like just magnified.
Yeah, magnified by 10.
Because fishing already is a multitasking thing. But when you're putting in the logistic part of like traveling and also staying, like what about that? You have a manager like helps you.
Nope. Yeah, it's all solo dolo, bro.
So like all these commitments for your sponsors and stuff like that, like
I'm having to manage my schedule. You know, I try to keep up with a Google Calendar, and then I share that with certain, you know, people with like my bigger obligation sponsorships. And so then that way they know like, okay, where's Matty? Okay, he has this seminar from the 2nd through the 5th, and then he has a tournament on the 10th through the 14th, and then, you know, he has practice and then travel date. Okay, there's an open block here, we can snag him there. And so I try to make sure that the calendar's up. That's hard enough to keep a calendar going because then it's changing, you know, every like couple weeks it's changing. Things are like dates are coming and going. And then, yeah, so my notes section on my iPad or my iPhone, bro, is pretty mental.
you know, bro, like serious consideration, just hearing that.
Yeah.
Try, I mean,
I'm
considered a virtual
ears.
assistant. It's about $1,200. The one I know is like $1,200 to set up, like exploratory, figure out what you need.
Okay.
And then $300 a month after that.
Okay.
But you have someone's 40 hours a week to help with that kind of stuff. I mean, sorry, it's not 40 at 300. It goes like 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on how much hours you need.
Yeah.
Point being,
Yeah.
it's someone who's dedicated to your operation, what you got going on,
Huh.
that could relieve some of that pressure. You know what I mean? Even if it's,
I wouldn't even know how to like tell them what I would, you know what I mean?
but it's a worthwhile investment to like figure out this is what I need. Or even if you just said, hey, here's my emails, like help me figure this out. Spend the first week, 2 weeks helping me figure out how you can.
I like that. So right
take it
now,
off your plate, man.
no, it's good. Okay. For me, that's my CPA.
Oh, okay.
So like that's
You have someone helping then.
So like that's my accountant, you know?
Okay.
So that's for me, that's the most important thing. Like I feel like I've gotten now to the point where my scheduling, like I basically got it. I've found a workflow to manage that. The reconciling of your QuickBooks and like that stuff. Right. I was like, okay, I'll pay someone. So like I have my CPAs in Texas, everything's set up in Texas. So I'm like, that's
good.
You know,
so like when you're buying tackle, for example, or I'm assuming you're getting a mix
all
of
write-offs, bro.
Tackle being sent to you, and then you're also buying. But
yeah, I have a lot of tackle, a lot.
You might just need a warehouse sponsor.
Yeah, serious.
You know
Any warehouse spaces, you know.
I could seeing how much. That's what I was trying to get to earlier. Was like, do you need that many poles?
Yeah. So okay, so I this is the analogy that I like to put it, or to break it down.
Yeah.
A golfer, right? So when you go and play golf, it's not one club for every single scenario. So you have a 400-yard shot to do. You're not going to like pick up your pitching wedge and go and try and make that shot.
Hey, speak for yourself, cuz.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, major.
Yeah,
Bro, you see Kenji,
no,
bro. You can drive 400 yards with a
pitching
chipping wedge.
boy.
That's awesome. No, there's a certain rod that I need to throw this.
You're telling me about this too.
That's a whole different setup that would be specific to throw that. I would need a different setup just to throw a topwater bait, which is something that's on the surface. I would need a different setup to throw something that's heavier, like this little guy that would, you fish down in and out of grass. Where it has
is that making sound? Is that a chatterbait?
That's not a chatterbait.
Oh.
This is all stuff for Hawaii. This is like my secret Hawaii box.
Oh.
This is the Lake Wilson juice.
This
is all Lake Wilson. Yeah. So it's like all these since they're smaller, I can get away with 2 to 3 rods to fish this stuff. And that's typically what I do when I go to Wilson. But when I'm fishing on tour, for me, I'll have about 20 rods tied up. And then by the end of practice, I condense it down to like 6.
Oh, so the practice is like, which ones do I need for tomorrow?
Yes.
Basically.
Once you can pattern the fish and figure out what they're on, like the way that we found Opelu, the way we can. You
found them. Hey, I was just along for the ride.
But the way that I was able to locate the bait, same thing. As soon as I'm able to locate the bait on the lakes, I figure out what the size of the bait is, how the bass are approaching them, how they're feeding on them. I can tailor my tackle to fit that bite. And then once I have that bite dialed, it typically won't change that much day to day. Like that pattern will stick for about a week unless there's dramatic weather. That's the hardest part, not having the experience that the other guys do, is the guy that grew up in Alabama knows how those bass react when a frost like a cold front in the spring comes through and it's like 30 degrees. Like one day it's 75 and the bass are up shallow, and then the next day there's ice on your rod. And so how do you make that adjustment? With experience, you know how to make that adjustment, but since it's all new to me, I'm having to go and figure it out on the day. And so that's the biggest changes and the challenges. And that's why you need so many different rods and so many different setups, because it's all about time management.
Just based on your videos, other people's videos, I'm like, there's so many rods. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I get the time efficiency part where it's like, I know I set it up last night or this morning, whatever, and I can just 2 seconds to switch.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Strategy changes quick. Got it. That's why I would want a bunch too.
Yeah.
But like, again, where do you draw the line? Because then why don't you just bring everything for every situation?
You got to limit yourself, because then you have too many options. So that's what I try to do. My first year I had too many options, and I would find myself trying too many different things versus I'm getting bit doing X, Y, and Z. I'm going to stick to that and then try to refine that.
Is that tiring though? Because that doesn't turn off though. Like,
I know, you're just constantly going, bro.
You're always, what if I, this color, this retrieval, this.
Yep, exactly.
That color to me must be more tiring than standing. Well, I don't know, because I didn't do it, but the mental vigor that's required to one, do it, but then two, compete.
Yeah.
Because I think doing and competing is a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's easy to look at a trophy or like a bag,
a
limit bag, 23 pounds, whatever. But you don't see all of that
goes
adjustments,
all the decisions.
And I'm sure like this Japanese guy he's talking about who's quiet, bruh, his up here is just like an engine, full rev.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Just that, I think someone had there's a stat somewhere about how much calories chess players burn.
Oh, just thinking.
Playing games, high level, obviously high level.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, you're right. Thinking requires energy. Mm-hmm. And the thinking that goes on with a fisherman one, but then a fisherman competing in a tournament. Yeah. Let's say it's that last leg or whatever.
Oh, dude.
Now you got emotional, nervous. Maybe some guy's trying to punk you. Yeah. All of that.
Yeah.
And then you got to fish. So props to that. Also, do you think to the point about like this guy who just like, don't talk to me, Warden,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Marshall.
Yeah.
What do you think about noise as far as how fish react to talking, for example?
Yeah, I think there's certain times where people are like, shh, the fish are going to hear you, you know?
So
like, quiet. Shh.
That's valid.
In certain situations.
Like what?
So if you're in the back of a creek pocket and it's dead, slick calm, there's no wind, it's relatively shallow, then you don't want to be creeping into that with your trolling motor on high and making a ton of noise coming in. So I'll tell my marshal, like, hey, let's kind of like talk real quiet and let's not make a lot of noise. Don't move too much. I'm going to make these casts and they're going to be long and specific, very pinpoint in certain areas. In those situations, yes, being quiet is really important because you're hunting. You still need to sneak up. And if you're like, I'm here,
just playing music,
just like bumping as you're rolling in on the pocket, you know, it's not going to work. But there's other times where you're near like a marina or there's like bluff walls where you have a lot of boat traffic coming in and out of like a main channel where those fish are used to that. They're conditioned for the boat noise, hearing the wakeboarders go by. It depends on the lake, you know, and then with that, you can actually use that as cover too.
To think of it as a predator really helps because obviously if you're hunting, which I see you out there with the bow.
Wow, put my reps in, dude.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, there he goes. He's going to kill it at that too. Like it's a little more easy to understand.
Yeah.
You know, my soccer coach took me out a few times hunting pigs, but with dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And it's real obvious in those situations that noise matters. Obviously, scent. It only made sense to me to apply that when you're hunting for something in the ocean. But it's kind of not as obvious because you can't see what you're hunting for. And there's this element barrier. Like I'm in air, you're in water. Yeah. But I know we can't like just ignore it. And so, and as superstitious as a sport, that I mean, bananas on boats type of thing. There's a lot of that here too in this world. So
it comes back to the situation. Completely situational. On the ocean, I don't care because let's blast music. You know, we'll go and hang out and blast music. But like for me, I'm trying to get content, so I can't copyright. I can't copyright the music that we're pounding on the water. And so I love to listen to music. I mean, I think but when you're in those moments too, when you have your AirPods in and you're trying to like be in the zone, you're also eliminating a super valuable sense that can help you catch an additional fish that you might have not if you were listening to music. Like there'll be times where I'll be in the back of a pocket and I'll hear I'll look over and a bluegill just got demolished by a bass. And if I wasn't fully paying attention, that happened 60 yards to the right. And now I know that there's a bass that's feeding on that one log or feeding in that one area that I can go and position my boat, make the cast, and present a lure in front of that fish. And because I've seen it and it gave itself away, now you have a better chance of catching that versus if you had your AirPods in or headphones on and not paying attention to that kind of stuff and just kind of just zoned in, making your cast and doing your thing. You would have never made that catch.
Like observation skills are paramount.
Yes.
And
well put.
The visual cues that you can pick up on, I think that's the obvious one for everybody. What's going on in the air, what's going on, what's growing here, colors, currents, all of these visual cues, and even matching what's in your tackle box to what you see, the bait fish. What about like, let's say things that require a little bit more of a mental jump to connect? Like for example, if I see this, then I know that.
That's what the experience, right?
That's just
reps. That's reps.
I mean,
so now I know more because I've done this. So now I have 2 years behind me. I journal a ton. I have notes that go back to 2015 on the water, and it's like, okay, what's the time? What's the date? What's the water temp? What's the atmosphere? You know, like, are we low pressure system, high pressure system, raining, all this stuff, all these different conditions. On top of that, what did I get bit on? How do I feel that those fish were setting up, or what were they feeding on? And then the outcome of the day. And then also compared to, let's say it was a tournament, what were the winning guys doing. So
how would you know what they were doing?
Most of the time now on the elites, it's all recorded. So it comes out, you're like, oh, brah, like, you know, and that's the thing, that's the worst part. Because
I was using that.
I was, 100%. You could be using the exact same lure that the guy that won the event, but because of the location. And that's where the skill comes in, where it's like, have to know how to find them. And so that's the tough part too.
That was the first time for me looking at a fish finder. I always knew what it was. I always knew there's like electronics that was a part of the sport of bass fishing, but even just fishing, like I knew there was a thing called a fish finder.
Yeah.
And that was the first time actually seeing it in like how it works, you know, and seeing the lead drop. You're like, look, this is the lead dropping. You know?
Bro, there's a fish coming up, being hot upon the lie. Yeah.
That makes so much sense to me. But to think about the ways it was done before.
Oh yeah,
that's
all senses.
Intriguing.
Oh yeah.
And so those kind of clues that, I mean, we live in a mecca of fishing in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, I told you before, that Bishop Museum area in Hawaii on a room where it's like, there's a couple sections.
One of the best rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these guys figured it out.
Yeah. Well, it's through observational experience, I think, well, okay, when it's windy out and it's overcast, I'm going to tie on a darker feather hook.
When we're using Hawaii culture as an example, there was no written. Right? So like, all like you're keeping a diary.
Told. Yeah.
But again, then there's that motor of a brain, and that's required to be successful. Yeah. I admire that, you know, because there's so many variables and it's all weighted on the catch. Like, are you going to catch anything or not, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the end of this.
And there's a lot of stress behind that too, right? Because then if you're projected to execute, or like you're expected to do well, people have the expectations. And then let's say you do get the bites, but you don't land them.
Yeah.
Oh, brah. Dude, at
least I want to see it so I know what it is.
There's a couple that haunt me.
Which ones? Here or?
I have a couple here. Like I remember there's one ulua that I got on the east side, and I literally had it. It was like at my feet, and I put my rod in the holder, and a friend of mine invited another friend, and he was adamant about grabbing my leader, and I usually trusted just my partner, you know, and then he's just like, no, bro, I get him. I'm like, okay, don't drop it. And like, he dropped it, and then I watched it swim away. But it was fine, you know. I think he took it a lot harder on himself. He was super pissed, bro, when he dropped it. He's just like, oh, I just get it. It was going mental. And I'm like, nah, it's okay. I never liked that fish anyways, you know.
Oh, so Hawaii boy of you, man. He was mad.
Yeah, I was mad. But like, I mean, he was big boy, so not gonna do nothing. Oh, but, you know, so I was just like, oh, okay, it's okay next time. Oh, it's all right. But yeah, hey, karma too. I think bachi. And then like 2 months later, I caught my biggest ulua. I just, in my head, I was like, it's okay. It wasn't meant to be. I just kind of, and I think that's been a big lesson for me too. Doing this whole thing is just really letting go of failure.
Because literally most of the time you're failing. You're 100%. Not catching.
Yeah.
And we all know that as fishermen.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like when you say, what is it, 2,000 casts a day-ish? Like, what? I never thought about counting my casts, but now I want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you literally take 2,000 and you caught, I don't know, 20 or whatever, right? That's
you have like 6 bites.
1%. Like 1%? You mean you have a 99% failure rate? I mean, we don't focus on that.
But then you get hooked. So when you do get hooked, you're just like so addicted to that moment, right? And so
tug
that's what
the drug, right?
Tug is the drug. And that's
I don't know what reel it was. You're like, I just got it. The one that caught the shibi on.
Oh yeah, you blessed them. Yeah,
bro. I remember because my friend was like, oh, what, bro? How did it feel? How did it feel? And I was like, you know what? honestly, like,
didn't really fight.
No, I was like, bro, Matty had like this new reel.
Yeah,
I was already like boat sick and like you know like kind of out of it mentally, but I was like, this is a shibi, and you called it because the way it was like fighting out. Oh, it's a shibi. It's going deeper. Like, okay. And I was like, honestly, bro, I fought veils that felt more scrappy.
Yeah.
Or, you know
100%. Yeah.
because like the tool just handled it the way it was supposed to, right? And it was just smooth.
Yeah.
I obviously I'm like, there's weight.
For sure.
Right.
But the importance of equipment, right? And not being underpowered in certain situations. So the same thing going back to like the swim bait.
Yeah.
You don't want to throw this on a rig that when you get that big bite, that your chances of landing it go way down. You want to make sure that when you do get that bite, that you land that fish. And so being prepared with the right equipment is super, super important.
But then not just having it, knowing how to use it. That's the part, you know, like this part, you could give me everything you have right now. And I have a 0.002%.
Reeling in the reel, make the musubi on the side.
Hey,
you know,
it's
okay. No, you got that part, bro. Hey, we've all been there.
And I got the C line.
Oh, you did?
The dial, yeah.
Oh, sick.
I got that because the 6.0 kind of, I don't know.
No, yeah.
It went down.
It's okay.
So
I'm glad you got the C line though.
I'm gonna cast more.
Okay.
Drone less.
There you go, my guy.
Yeah. You know what? The thing about droning too is, I'm not gonna say the word cheat. It's just I look at it as another method.
It's cheat, but okay,
you do. Hey, all right. Hey, no.
Hey, that's the old school uncle in me though. You know, because all the uncles that taught me would just straight face be like, no. Negative. That's full
not
cheat.
fishing.
That's not even fishing, you know? And so what if
I kite them out though?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
Nah, no, like you said, it's another way. It's the old school.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, Pololo boy in me that like the uncle would give me slaps if I never, you know. So that's just also paying it forward to the younger generation that like are flexing on all these fish that they droned. And it's like, okay, yeah, like you had to reel in the fish and you had to rig your things, but then you also like flew a drone out versus casting it. And casting is a whole different skill that when you do learn how to cast, it just makes it that much more special of a catch because you put in the time and effort to learn how to cast.
I think the result, like let's say a 50-pound fish, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a song. We get to the result, but you use auto-tune the whole way.
Yeah.
And this is, you know what I mean? Where
and then you went and like got a voice coach and, you know, put in the reps or, you know.
I think droning just shows that the skill set that you have doesn't include casting or maybe, but you know, I feel like it makes sense for like older guys. I see some older guys, you know, who's just.
Yeah. And I don't want to like piss off a bunch of droners out there. I'm not trying to do that.
As
long as you get your permit and whatever. But no, all the old school Ulua fishermen, I don't care. Anyone who's an old school fisherman, and I'm pretty sure they will agree with me that casting is the way to go when it comes to like counting them. I
believe as well. Yeah. And that's why I was like, bro, I think it was like you said, timing.
Yeah.
Bro, the clicker on my 6.0 just went out for some reason. I just hear it rattling. Yeah. I'm like, what? Like, perfect. Right after we talked about this, I'm like, if this ain't a sign, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
That's what I hit you up like, hey, I want to just get a casting conventional. I've always wanted to just be able to rely on that skill as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm not relying on these other things. And plus, that's just more stuff to hike in.
It's a lot of stuff. I mean, and drones go down, you know, like, and so it's one of those things. But again, if that's what you do, I'm not knocking you because that's what you're putting in time and you still got a rig and you got to get bait and all that other stuff. I get it. But the way that I was raised, the way I grew up fishing, and it was just different. So yeah. So all you droners learn how to cast.
Drone not flown. Hey, I'm gonna be super grasshopper bird nesting all day. That's all right.
No, but then when you finally get this like the spool control and everything down, bro, just like the feeling kind of it's like my journey right now with bow. So I just picked up.
Where are you at in that?
So I'm super grasshopper still yet. You know, I used to shoot a lot of archery growing up and into my teenage years, and I had a compound bow then. And I would love just going out and just shooting. I never had an uncle teach me how to hunt. I never had, like my dad doesn't shoot bow or anything like that. And so I'm learning, but luckily I have so many so many talented friends that have that skill, like for you in the multicam stuff, like bro, like learning, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's the same deal where I'm learning from multiple extremely talented, well-experienced people. And so I'm trying to do diligence and putting in reps. So like I've shot 400 arrows in the past 3 days. Like I'm trying to put in because it's a short window for me, because as soon as I get on the road, I have to leave my bow at home. Like it's not like I'm lugging
a couple more months then.
Yeah, like and then it's I'm got to go Japan, and so I can't. I'm like I want to put in as much reps as I can now. And then I'm going on my very first hunt next week, Big Island.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm like, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. It's something I've honestly been a little bit like skeptical about, because I love animals, but I also love to eat meat. And so I've always wanted to have the experience of harvesting my own meat, because I harvest my own fish.
I think there's this sort of reverence that when you hunt, and fishing is hunting, let's put that in, when you hunt, which is to say gather, you're going out to nature and coming back with something. There's this kind of reverence for nature that it gets fostered, because although you're taking a life, you feel way more full of life.
Well, and appreciative towards what you're consuming too, right?
Oh yeah. It's not, here's my card, give me the meat.
It's all saran wrap.
That I don't know where it's from.
Looks all nice. Oh,
I think, when
Cotton New Zealand.
when you show me how to cut the mahi, right?
Yeah.
Take off the skin, and I think I told you on the boat, like I was like, I want to do that part too. To me, it wouldn't feel complete if after we got back to the harbor, he's like, shoots, or you cut
them up and just give them to you.
Like I want that to be a part of it, similar to how like I want casting conventionals to be a part of my experience of fishing, right? When you're actually not only just killing, but also what do you call it, butchering, cutting,
filleting.
Like, when you're actually then the final piece of that is the
cooking it. Oh yeah, that's the best part.
I think fishermen love everything from going to the tackle shop, getting the gear and tools, figuring it out, all the way to like eating. That's fishing.
Oh yeah,
or hunting, or whatever you doing.
You want to call it, yeah.
You want to do all of that,
all
right?
of it.
Otherwise, it kind of feels like
you feel like you're shortcutting, right? Or I don't know. It's not, maybe not shortcutting, but I agree with you. You want to have the full experience, and you want to say that, yeah, I know how to do that. Yeah. And for me, I want to learn how to process an animal. I've never shot.
You going for what, deer or pig?
Pig, goat, maybe sheep. I don't know. One of those.
Oh, okay.
Whatever comes close enough, bro.
Hey, I was surprised. Like I just went, but I went. What's that called? Hawaii killer whale. What's it, Hawaii Volcano National Park.
Oh yeah, there's so many goats.
I didn't see any.
Oh, okay.
I did see nene. Obviously, I'm not saying go shoot nene, but no.
No. How's that nene taste?
I was like, that's a bird. You don't see it out over here in Oahu.
No. Yeah, rare, super rare. Yeah, there's a couple nene. Yeah.
But like I was like, oh, boom, nene.
Yeah.
And there's just one island, not one, but some islands away from here where it's like different.
Loaded. Yeah.
The terrain is completely different. And I like that feeling of I wanted to plug in and do that process there.
Yeah. That's cool.
I boloed. I did take my small pole and
I
told the family, Daddy just needs 1 hour. Just during this trip. You know what I mean? We'll do everything, but I cannot come without at least trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I boloed, didn't catch anything. Okay. But I got some casting, right?
Yeah.
And the water was so cold. Bro, this is
interesting.
It's just October. Yeah, it was October.
Yeah.
Middle of October, Big Island, Hawaii, east side. Like people there were doing a U-turn. Ankle deep U-turn.
Not.
Yeah. I couldn't figure it out, but the water was freezing. Not literally.
Like a freezing 72.
Cold.
Yeah.
Nah, Hawaii freezing.
Yeah, Hawaii freezing 72
People
degrees.
Like, they don't know.
Yeah.
No,
true though.
It was.
No, but it's cold. When you're conditioned,
Yeah, maybe I was just a young boy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I wanted to tell you about this this experience in Japan.
Okay.
In Shiga, where you're going.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you said you're going to Shiga, or I don't know how it came up, but I was like, bro, I lived in Shiga 5 years.
So cool.
Lake Biwa, swam in there. I haven't fished.
Yeah. You will
No,
now.
one time, no, two. Yeah, I did fish twice, but it was like basically equivalent of a Walmart ugly stick or something.
Yeah.
But
Still fished.
I wasn't into it like I am now. I lived in Shiga 5 years and in Kyoto 3.
Mm-hmm. Which is right next door, right?
Yeah, and Kyoto's still connected to Lake Biwa. Lake Biwa goes through Kyoto and then ends in Osaka.
Okay.
Or in that harbor that Osaka's next to, and then that's the ocean.
Okay.
So it's the nature there. You talked about regions and seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could go to the same region, just experience it in different seasons. Because
So cool.
the seasonality of Japan is unmatched.
Yeah.
Because winter's winter, spring is spring, summer, summer,
Fall.
fall is fall. And you have reminders in every sense. You have reminders of what season it is.
That's so cool.
What you see,
Yeah.
you're not talking about observations, right?
Yeah.
Same place that I lived in 5 years looks different. It's like 4 different places throughout the year.
Yeah.
And then that cycle just happens. So by my third year, I was kind of like catching on to the cycle.
Starting to get dialed in on the seasonal changes.
Daikon, you know, it's fall time. That's when they burn in that husk of the rice in the empty fields that have already been harvested. And you smell that smell and the smelling cues.
Yeah.
The tatami smell different in the fall than it does in the summer. Because in
Really?
the summer, the higher moisture, humidity, you know, you feel when you wake up, you already got a little layer of sweat on, even on 6 a.m. You know what I mean? You smell the tatami, you hear the sliding doors opening and closing. Like, there's so many sensory cues to what season you're in Japan. Not even talk about food yet. We didn't even talk about food. So, so that's like, I feel like I'm getting used to this seasonality of Japan, right? And I'm in the countryside. So I have, you know, mountains, then a bunch of rice fields, and then Lake Biwa.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like right in the middle of that. Just one train line, north and south, running through there. I have a bike, Mamachari. It's a little wagon on the front, 1 gear. And I use that in my personal time to explore. It was a November, I think Saturday or Sunday. It was a Sunday morning in November. And I get a call from a friend who's like, "You want to go horse riding?" And I was like, "Of course." Like,
shoot.
I'm thinking, like, I wasn't expecting it. I was a little bit hungover too because the night before was kind of, you know. So it's like I'm rolling around at the tatami. It's cool. It's already cold.
Yeah.
November. Get the call. "You want to go ride horses?" I was like, "Okay. When and where? Where I gotta go?"
Yeah.
Maki. Shout out to Maki if she ever watches this. She was a literal nomad. She didn't have a home with plumbing and electricity and all that.
Yeah.
She literally set up like an awning kind of thing. She lived in nature. No AC. She's like, "No, AC is weak, makes you weak. Your body doesn't adjust how it should."
Wow.
Right? So she's living in the elements year round.
Wow.
And she had 2 horses, a big one and a small one.
She gave you the small one then, yeah?
Yeah, no, she was like, "Oh, I don't, even the big one might not be able to handle it." Because, you know, morning, so okay, where you at? Boom, I bike there. 30-minute bike ride through the country. It's kind of cold already. It's kind of nippy, yeah? This was actually the first snowfall of the season, of the winter season. Okay. Not of the year, but the first season. So you imagine, I'm in the countryside, right? I have my snow boots on too. Yeah. Like some rubber snow boots, you know. My not really made for winter, but I gotta use it because it's the only long sleeve, long pants stuff I got, the gloves I have. I'm in just middle of rice fields, little houses scattered here and there. We hit the trailhead, start going up the hill, and you know, fall when there's no leaves, right? So even though it's a little switchbacky, we go
you can
up,
kind of see your trail.
Get some elevation, to the point where now we have some elevation and I can see through the trees because there's no leaves. I can see through all like the plains area where all the rice fields are, where I live. And then beyond that, Lake Biwa, a clear enough day that I could even see the other side of Lake Biwa, which some days you can't.
Okay.
It's a really big lake, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whoa, this is, and it's like that really light snow. Like, you know, that just kind of like floating down, zigzagging down. I'm on the back of this, and there's no, what is that called? Saddle? Like
bareback.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Bareback. Is that? Yeah. I guess I was bareback.
Bareback and horse riding in the snow.
You know, like snow doing this and fresh tracks. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no one's tracks that we're following. So we're making our fresh on this horse. I've never been on a horse. Bareback, and she told me just grab his mane. Yeah.
Wow. Like literally didn't even have like
Bruh,
no reins, no nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, good thing it wasn't like a wild, like buck me off type of horse.
Mustang.
You know? I guess it was a tame horse. So
He was broke
first
already.
time rider like me, and she's like, just heal him on the right if you want to turn right, heal him on the left if you want to turn left. But he's probably just gonna follow me anyway.
The way you're describing it, I can picture it like to the T, which is so cool. And I've been in Japan once when it was snowing, and the feeling that you get in the mountains and in the woods when it's snowing in Japan, it has a certain energy and a certain like mana about the whole thing.
Exactly.
And you're just like, oh, like I get chicken skin thinking about it, you know?
Imagine on a horse now.
Elevated.
Because it was weird when we get like to like the trail's like this wide and then it starts to go down, right? And I'm already elevated on this animal that I don't know how to control. And I'm like looking like, that's
far.
I'm just, I gotta trust, right?
Yeah.
And talk about sound.
Yeah.
Sometimes that silence is a little bit louder.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, this is amazing. You know, like my hangover's long gone. I'm just like
full
enjoying
sensory
this, right?
overload.
Bro, we just went on a little walk through the hills and mountains area, come back down, and it's like already, you know, the days are getting shorter.
It's like 3 o'clock. The sun's already going down.
She, that's the thing too. One time in the hills, like my horse just stopped.
Huh.
And I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't like give any signal or anything, like, but my horse stopped. And so I like, I don't know. I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
And I could see this horse's ears turn back. You know, I never rode a horse, but when I see his ears turn back towards me, I'm like, okay, I know this horse is listening to me.
Yeah.
But he's not listening to me, like following my commands.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go.
He's like, quiet, bro. I'm trying to listen to something.
I'm like healing him and stuff. And then Maki just keeps going though. And I was like, oh, do I like dismount and
go horsey?
I was like, come on. Maki, wait. Help. You know, she just turns around. She's like, turn around. And I turned around. He was just taking a dump.
Oh.
He was just taking a dump. And I was already like trying to kick him and like tell him to move.
He's like,
man, this is a nice horse. Yeah. He didn't get mad at me for like trying to rush him taking a dump.
Oh my gosh.
And then we go down. And this, see, I already thought this was a great thing, right? Like, this is amazing. Kind of breaks the, like, oh, I'm in nature moment because her phone rings. And so she's just on the horse, like, she's talking. Puts on the horse. She's like, my neighbor just got a 3-year-old female deer and is going to bring it over. Do you want some? I was like,
very specific.
Yeah. Of course. What am I saying? No. Like, we got to go back to your place. And so this farmer next to her who sets cages.
Oh.
Because, you know, a lot of times deers are a problem. Yeah. And so sometimes the government will subsidize, like, whatever. I think it was 100 equivalent if we just say whatever. Ichiman. Basically $100 per head.
Okay.
And I think all you needed was like, I forgot which tooth.
As proof.
Yeah. Instead of bringing in the whole body. Mm-hmm. So he took the whatever tooth he needed to take, right? But now it's dark. The horses are back. I'm just like, that was dope. But now it's like round 2. Now we're going to slaughter this deer.
Butcher this deer. Wow.
So I was like, let's go. So it didn't stop. And so now it's like the back legs are hanging. Okay. So his head is down.
Yeah.
And then from that point, I just was stuck around for the skinning. He let me, because you got to pull real hard on that skin, right?
Yeah, to get it down.
And he was doing it with the blade and pulling with the blade.
Yeah.
And he like, you try. He's like, put your fingers really like, he's like, dig your fingers in, which actually felt good because it's warm.
Interesting. You're like, oh.
It was warm. Yeah, because it's already cold and it's nighttime now.
Yeah.
And so it actually kind of felt good.
Okay.
But then you pull it down. So, dude, skinning the deer, then obviously cutting up all the pieces, like the back pieces. The dogs over there are just like eating up all the scraps. Licking the blood as it dripped.
Wow,
bro,
what an experience.
I ended up riding my bike home with this, I think a back
strap.
Yeah. A piece of that wrapped in, I don't even know what it was wrapped in. But like I had this piece of deer meat, never frozen.
Petals of sakura.
Yeah. Bro.
What an incredible experience, dude.
And it's just in the countryside of Japan, right? A place a lot of Japanese people never even been to, or, you know, it's easy to think of Japan, like Tokyo, big city stuff or whatever. But dude, this kind of stuff is happening all the time, all over the place, in so many different seasons and regions. That's a personal experience that I can share.
Yeah.
But I hope it kind of stokes your flame, because that's the kind of environment that you're going into, where you have people who don't make YouTube videos and just they're in it. Similar to how when people come to Hawaii and like culture shock.
Yeah.
You can't bring your New York energy over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You got to be open to it. Right.
Same thing. Like just when you travel that large, put down like your guard and just be open and like humble.
Good listener.
And then, the things that could happen are just amazing.
Oh, it's endless.
Yeah.
That's a super valuable lesson that I think through traveling and through life is becoming for me it was a big lesson, is becoming, how do I become a better listener? You know like, oh no, it looks easy, I think I can do that. It's like no, like, boy, just watch. So I'm like, I try to challenge myself in a lot of different settings, is to just be observant of this person doing this craft, or whether it's cooking something or if it's butchering something. I'm try to immerse and then, as humans do, is copycat, mimic, and then learn from that experience. Man, that's cool, bro. So you butchered a deer before.
I butchered a deer on the first
I've never
day
butchered
of
a deer.
winter.
After a bareback horse ride. Just straight raw dogging this horse. Bruh, hey, in the equestrian space, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I believe it's called bareback riding, but which is no saddle. But that's
no, I think that makes literal sense.
Literal sense. Yeah.
You know what? Like that level of opportunity.
Yeah.
And
what
also
an
craftsmanship.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one thing is kind of synonymous with Japan. It's like craftsmanship. Whether it's a blade, sushi roll, fishing. I know bluegill. I only know bluegill because my time there.
Yeah.
It was like, bluegill, bass, catfish. And there was a lot of in the spring around May during Golden Week. Really, that's when you do taue, which is
the trout, right?
Or you plant rice in the paddies.
Oh.
But leading up to that, they have to flood the paddies. And there's a whole different irrigation conversation to get into with that. But basically, they flood the paddies.
Okay.
The rice fields.
Yep.
Paddies, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And then when they do that, what follows water? Life. And so there's all different. There's like a few week moment of the year when it's like an aquarium.
Just a bunch of
tadpoles, a bunch of little fish, a bunch of like eggs. What is that? A bunch of snails, a bunch of these. Bro, the biggest, like, I don't even know if it's an earthworm, but it was an earthworm looking thing.
Whoa.
Bro, long.
Yeah.
Huge. So
freshwater eel?
No, it was not.
It wasn't an eel.
It looked like an earthworm that was just this big.
That's gnarly.
Yeah. There was no like mouth, eyes. There's eels too, though. All kinds of insects. You ever seen a cicada? Not cicada. Dragonfly larva when it's in like
they're
Terminator
crazy
mode.
Oh, bro, those things they look like aliens.
Yeah, but 5-year-old just be like, oh, found one.
Yeah,
I never felt so unmanly that like being in the country.
Bro, they're nuts and they bite too. I think,
but the kids just pick up huge praying mantises, huge these things, beetles.
Yeah, like the beetles. What's the Japanese beetle? The
kabutomushi.
Kabutomushi.
There's a lot of different kind of,
and there's different ones, right?
Yeah,
it's like
different
the pincer.
horn.
It's the horn one.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Bruh.
What a neat experience, bro.
8 years didn't feel like 8 years to me. It felt like 1 or 2.
Probably went by super fast
because of the cyclical nature of like, even though you're going through it again,
it's the new
this
season.
is my 8th winter.
Yeah,
there's still something there.
New to learn,
right? Yeah. And learn, do, eat, see. Like people to me to do it with. So it's like. Yeah. I don't think the novelty ever ran out during my time there. And so even how long are you going to be there?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still more than a lot of, people go for like 2, 3, 4 days. And I'm like, bro, 3 weeks, that's pretty good. That's a good amount of time.
It's still going to be really quick though. I'm not going to like scratch the surface.
So if you go to Shiga, try.
You got to give me the.
Yeah. Last time we went this summer, we went to Club Harie, which is on the east side of Shiga.
Okay.
And that's kind of like a good omiyage spot, obviously. I got to give you the omiyage spots.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Okay,
I'll
you're gonna text me because I don't want to be rude and be on my phone and
No.
texting this. But
Club Harie is one place.
Okay.
There's even on where I'm from on the west side of the lake, I would suggest go to Mimatsu because that's just one of the spots I went to when I was there.
Okay.
And
what is it? Is it like
it's a
omakase?
They actually have like that, what do you call it, counter seating. They have a counter seating area with someone who will do that.
Okay.
But it's also like, it's a nice mix between, like they have, for example, hamburger, or we call it hamburger. Like the patty.
Yeah. Okay.
You'd think it's a local moco.
Ah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but it's Japanese-fied. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, shrimp tempuras, and it's just a nice, for me, it was like elevated comfort food.
Yep.
During my time there. And I just ran into the owner randomly at Club Harie in the summer when we went.
Really? That's
like,
sick.
is that? And then we caught up. It was crazy.
Bruh.
And so that's why I know it's still there.
Cool.
A lot of the places are not there, or you know,
have just changed or whatever.
Changed. But I know Mimatsu is still there.
Okay.
It's in Shinasai. I'll send these things to you.
Hook me up.
Like, since you're so close, and depending where you're staying, Kyoto is not far.
Yeah.
Definitely visit. What time of the year? I don't know if the leaves, it's probably banging right now. Like all the maple leaves, orange and reds and yellows and stuff.
I've done the temple.
Which one?
All the arches in Kyoto.
Oh, right, Fushimi Inari.
Yeah. The one that's like
Fushimi.
Right outside of the train station.
Yeah. All the orange torii gates, right?
Yep.
Cool. That's a little bit more southern.
Okay.
The whole city's filled with temples and shrines, period.
Wow. Yeah.
A lot of them are older than
That's why it got saved, right? Was that
a UNESCO World Heritage Site?
Yeah.
I think there's the most like UNESCO World Heritage Sites per like, I don't know, area, capita, whatever, in Kyoto. I might be wrong, but there's so many shrines. If that's your thing, like if you like diving into history,
I mean, it's fascinating
seeing
stuff.
Architecture, at that level. A lot of the places are going to be kind of feeling like Kalakaua, or like old international marketplace, or it's kind of like, is this a tourist trap?
Yeah,
is that really $20? Whatever, you know. Yeah. But hey, you know, nowadays, especially with how, you know, internet, social media is, a lot of these spots got blown up. Yeah. But for that reason, I won't like say it now, but I'll say it later. But there are like still pockets, right, that you can enjoy. More untouched. I think having a good mix of for example, Ginkakuji, the Golden Pavilion. You know, like I went there, I don't know how many times. I even lived there for a while, like right next to it. To me, some things just get blown out of proportion. Okay. And you think, oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. I'm going to go there. And you go there and you're like, wait, I'm just waiting in line for 2 hours
to see this,
to get herded through 3 rooms, not even the whole thing. And now I'm in a souvenir shop. Yeah. You know what I mean?
They funnel you right into it.
You just get herded to the souvenir shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Managing your expectations a bit
for
too.
Sure.
But having that kind of openness to, let's put it this way. In my 4th, 5th year or whatever, I started kind of organizing a rice planting event.
Oh, cool.
I say I organized it, but that's kind of overstep because I was friends with a rice farmer.
Got it.
Who had let me participate in just what he does.
Cool.
And to the point where I was like, hey, you want to come once? And then it turned into like a bunch of people. Thing. But some of them lived in Kyoto. Some of them lived on the other side of the lake. Okay. Some of them lived on my side of the lake. And so it ended up being a bunch of foreigners in my friend's, you know, in his rice fields. Yeah. And he left one patty for us. Yeah, like the foreigners. You guys do this one, you know?
Whatever you guys want.
Like. But the experience like across the board was.
Oh, that's so cool.
They were like, oh man, this is, because you go past so many rice fields, you get numb.
But then how many people can say that they've actually helped curate or learn the ways or learn how to plant rice, how to harvest it, or I think that whole...
Yeah, that's the kind of memory you take with you too, that you talk to your kids, your wife after, you know, the chapters after Japan, you still talk about, like that's one of those moments. And I think those kind of opportunities are across the board. I mean, we live in our state is about tourism, hospitality, right?
Yeah.
And I think now there's a lot more focus on that. They call it so many things like ecotourism.
Ecotourism, yeah.
Or like volunteer tourism. I forgot the exact terms they're using, but basically you're coming and contributing to stuff that's already going on or that helps.
That helps.
Yeah. And so in this case, it's like if you travel to this rice field in Japan, so planted rice, or you came in September, whatever, for harvest. Like
You're not just being a consumer.
Right. You're contributing.
You're contributing. You're not just taking, which
And
I think is really
people
valuable.
do that here in the Lo'i.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I've
just-
worked in the Lo'i a couple times. Yeah, it's super fun. Oh, yeah.
See, like getting your feet in that mud.
Oh, bro.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's cold, too. You're like, oh!
What, 72 cold?
Yeah, 72. A chilly 71 degrees.
I don't know.
Like,
Do you like
is-
sake?
Oh, bro.
Okay. Oh, bro.
Daiginsho.
Okay. Oh, fancy you. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's some breweries.
Okay.
You call it breweries? Yeah. I guess they're breweries. And I think around this time of the year is
Would
when
it be
they have.
distillery? Or would it be... I don't know. I
Sorry.
I can't make like, I have no clue. I just enjoy it.
Good.
I just know that there's different levels of the quality because of the amount of husk that they mill, right? And it's all about the consistency of the rice grain before it goes into the brewing process or whatever. My brother used to work for a Japanese food distributor company, and so he learned me how, a bunch of stuff. And it was interesting because he was talking about rice, and he's like, actually, a lot of this, all the Calrose, even though there's different brands and whatnot, it's all the same stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's all grown in the same region in California, and it's all this. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
So my wife, she Japanese, yeah.
Mm.
Nijia,
Nijia.
the one in, well, I guess there's two, on University and then the one in Alamoana.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, that's the only place we buying rice.
Yeah.
Because even if you get the Japanese brands,
Yeah.
in Dai or sorry, so old.
Yeah.
Don Quixote, yeah.
Dai. Oh my God. R.I.P.
My bad. My bad.
Wow.
It's still grown in California.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you can pay a premium and get the real
deal.
Which, you know what? For some people, can't tell the difference. But
hey, but once you've had good rice, yeah, there's no comparison. That's the hardest thing on the road.
Eating what? Rice.
Just eating. I've brought over a bag. Like
rice sponsor Batty.
Yeah,
right.
I open any kind of rice sponsors. Gotta be some fancy rice though, but 'cause I'm a rice snob. But it's like that's the simplest things that I think that a lot of people take for granted are the luxuries that I miss so much. So when I do come home, or what I'm really excited for when I do go to Japan, I just get to eat high quality rice.
Oh man.
It's a big difference.
It's huge. And you know what? Coming back to Hawaii,
Yeah.
which is rice heavy state, right?
Yeah. Still not there though.
No.
Not even close.
No.
And if you guys think that you know rice,
No.
bro, go Japan and then you're gonna learn. Bombay, you learn.
Even something like the pickled vegetables that's a side.
Mm-hmm. It's elevated.
The quality of food
right?
to us subjectively coming from here is elevated,
Mm.
but over there it's just normal.
Normal. Yeah.
So the elevated there, bro,
Yeah.
just go splurge. Spend like $250 on just for you for dinner. You know what I mean? Like do an omakase set on. Treat yourself to one of those.
Okay.
And I could give you suggestions for those
Yeah,
too.
please.
I'm
I'm gonna be broke by the time I come back.
Hey, at least one. Okay, there's one place called Kiharu. I'll
Okay.
just put that out there.
Yeah.
Kiharu is in
Okay.
Kyoto, and I cannot tell you the exact streets.
Okay.
I'll
find it.
It gets
I'll
fuzzy.
find it.
It gets fuzzy. Do an omakase there,
Okay.
because the master Taisho, the guy who's basically going to be serving you up.
Yeah. Legit.
That's what you want to have, like, as a person who's serving you,
yeah. Okay.
because they're enthusiastic.
Uh-huh.
And if you go anywhere, right, you want someone to share your stoke, to match your stokeness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If it's in a restaurant, a lot of times you don't see who's actually serving you.
Mm.
It's the waiter, the person who's, I guess, technically, or bringing you the food, who's serving you, but you don't see who's making it.
Yeah.
There's that degree of separation at
Mm-hmm.
most, especially American, but Hawaii restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of the reason that it's worth spending on an omakase, is when you have that person in front of you who's making it.
Yeah.
And then when that person's personality is like, he's like Umbrada. Just put it out.
Okay,
He's
sick.
he's Kyoto's version of Umbrada.
Of Umbrada.
Of Umbrada.
Okay.
Kind of like, he kapili, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of like when brother,
Yeah.
he knows his shit.
Yeah.
And he just wants you to have
a good time. Oh, that's awesome.
And then it's that kind of like, I think that's what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
The more you pay, the less you do.
Yeah.
And so I don't do anything, but I'm going to get this and I'm going to get before that. Then, you know what? Pair that with this sake.
Yeah.
Because you like sake. So
yeah. Oh,
last time I went there, I'm
so excited.
I had so many different sake. Like the thing with portions too, right?
Yeah. You don't need a lot.
Portions get cut in half.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because quality goes up.
Yeah. And I think the length of time, the duration of eating goes up too.
Mm.
Over here, it's like everything all at once, down the hatch, done.
Yeah, get out.
Versus a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Let it settle.
A little bit of that, you know?
Cleanse your palate. Go again. Yeah.
Drink this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. You know, it's worth it to splurge on that.
Since you're giving me that tip, there's a place in Kaimuki called Mizu. I think it's either Mizu or Miso. I think it's Mizu. It's water. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the name of the restaurant. It's omakase. It's I think it's French with local ingredients. It's a local chef. I think his name's Chef Chris. But when you talk about culinary masterpieces and pairings, like you're gonna spend, you know what I mean?
It's a splurge.
It's a splurge.
Okay.
Like, but it's amazing.
Okay.
It's next level. I'm a foodie and I know you are as well. And I know you'll appreciate it. Before I used to put steakhouses like, have you been to Morton's or it's like, no, like you go to a place that like this, it takes you on a culinary journey through the flavors, and then with the pairings, all these different types of European wines, and then the ingredients from Hokkaido uni to or wherever and then got oysters from Vancouver, and then you have like this type of beef and all. I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll just leave it at that.
Mizu.
But Mizu, yeah,
bro. I want. That's the only thing about Hawaii that sometimes I'm like. There's a lot of diversity in food, but a lot of it is Asian skewed.
Yep.
And I think that's good because then you have places like this. You have a lot of competition. There's a lot of places to go, but then the ones who make it are good.
Yeah.
Love that. So I'd like to hear about these kind of places. I want to check them out.
New menu every month.
See? You know you're in the right spot if you have a handwritten menu.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like Kyoto.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I'm still grasshopper, right?
Yeah.
So just, but my wife's family has taken me because, they're from Shiga, right?
Okay.
Or her dad is at least. Her mom's from Hokkaido.
Mm.
But when they would be like, we're in town, let's go to dinner or something. Those spots,
yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know the name.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I knew as soon as like, wait, where is it? I look, I'm like, oh, over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bro, it feels like in some ways, like right now I just finished watching Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix, and it's set in Japan, right? It's a timepiece too. So it's like back before they like open their borders to let trade with other nations stuff. So it kind of feels like there's still this right now today, if you go to Kyoto or even Shiga, just Japan, there's a lot of this, like, there's a polarity between super, super old school style right next to super, super high tech. And a lot of times, like, let's put it this way, the last time I saw a floppy disk was at my job at the Board of Education in Shiga. A literal floppy disk. My computer at my desk had a they had one in it. And I was like, can you believe this?
Nani kore?
Yeah, here you go. Fax machines. Still use fax machines.
Wow.
Still use business cards, right?
Yeah.
Two-handed,
Yeah.
So there's this weird kind of dichotomy there.
It's funny.
Of that old traditional and then new stuff. And Kyoto's kind of one of those kind of cross sections because it's such a historically significant city. It used to be the capital before it moved to Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
It's such a historically significant city with all these buildings that are hundreds of years old, and then the food and families, old money.
Wow.
Old money. Like this family been here doing this business. Old money, old buildings, history, culture, and then there's all the new stuff too.
Wow.
So it's got
excited.
that vibe, and you know, my last 3 years were there in Kyoto. So I think about how if I wasn't, it was also like the brokest time of my life. Because I was like,
but the richest too at the same time.
yeah,
right?
exactly. Like monetarily was the lowest, but like spiritually, like fulfilling wise, like what I was doing there, that's basically when I started videography because I had to. I didn't have my teacher paycheck. So it was my starting my hustling career, but making it.
Yeah.
And it was in that city, which just offered this kind of backdrop of that duality, right? Like old and new.
What an interesting juxtaposition to navigate, right?
Because you're looking at this temple, right? But then there's like there's a touch screen right here that leads you through the temple. I went to my bank branch one time, and there was a little robot thing that you could talk to. It had like 2 things, lights for eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, this is what people think Japan is all like this.
Yeah.
But like if you walk outside, you're gonna see that guy with the wooden geta, and like he's going into a house that's 200 years old. It's just right all on top of each other, next to each other. I mean, I don't even know where he's going with that, but I'm getting stoked talking to you because
I could tell that there's a lot of passion there. You know, like there was a formative time in your life where you've experienced these transformative things that you went through and that you grew from, and that it's a part of you. It's a part of your identity. Huge. So it's cool, bro. I'm as stoked on the receiving end of this because I'm watching you relive this, you know, as you're explaining it. So I think that's really cool, and I'm glad that you've shared this with me.
Take it. I'm gonna be watching all your feeds when you're there. You know,
dude, I'm gonna try to keep it fun, and I want to be up on top of it. I already got a Wi-Fi spot that I got it reserved in Narita. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're arriving Narita then?
Yeah. Then I'm probably gonna bus in to. I think we're gonna stay. I'm gonna be with my brother and his family for a week and a half. So the first week and a half, we're gonna be. I think Tokyo, and then we're gonna go all over. I'm just full on uncle at this point, you know, because my nephews are going to be there. So I'm going to be like uncle daycare. So that's going to be the one section. And then from the December 13th on, I'm going to be, I'll be in Shiga. So from there, I think 5 days I'll have. So not a lot.
But I mean, I spent a week, no, five nights in the summer. And actually I saw these guys, bruh. They were going fishing, and I feel so jealous. You know, like 4 guys, each one with 2-3 rods. You know,
you could tell they're
I want an example. You know, but you know, I had the girls, and we actually went to this island. I forgot his name. Oyakojima. I forgot. It was nicknamed Cat Island, even though we didn't see any cats. So it's a lake, right? But there's a lot of actual like little islands in the lake.
In
Biwako.
Okay.
And there's only one that's technically inhabited.
Oh, this is when I remember you were telling the story about it, where it's like a kind of like an old fishing village that's based on that island.
There's a lot of, well, I mean, everything that's on the shore is kind of a fishing village-ish, but that island in particular has, like, they're known as the only island people live on. And now it's just older people. Yeah. Like all the young people basically went to their mainland.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the mainland.
Which is just, whatever, a 10-minute boat ride that way. Yeah. But on the boat ride, the ferry there, I seen 4 guys jump on. They all had their different rods and setups. I was like, oh, man. I kind of wanted to, like, you know, be a little bit. But
I'm that guy 100%.
I was like, nah, I came because we with the family.
You're like family.
Yeah,
family.
Family.
Oh.
You know that feeling, bro.
100%.
But that shows you that people are fishing there too. Yeah. And if you're on the lake, there's even people at the ferry, or not the ferry, what do you call it? The dock, like the little mini harbor. I saw guys over there fishing too. Yeah. And they had like that kind where you got like trousers almost, like
waders.
They're in the water. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Not fly, but they were fishing in the water, and I was like, oh man, I just can't not like want to.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, 100%. I
was about for hand line. Just right
just, I don't care. Well, I can try, babe, just like 5 minutes, and then like 2 hours later, dude. wherever I am, bro. I'm so bro. If someone has a rod and someone's fishing, I'm like, oh, how's it going, bro? Oh, what you got? Oh, you catch anything? Oh, cool. I think that's also something where I've learned a lot too from.
What, like asking?
Because being that curious kid, I was always like, as I was learning myself, like with the bamboo pole, I would go up and talk to the uncles that were fishing next to me. Oh, what you guys doing? I'm like, some of them would just be like, get away, kid. And then the other ones would be like, oh, okay, well, I'm doing this. And I'm like, oh, so then I learned and learned and learned. So it's cool that another thing we have in common is just the excitement around when you see people. It's like the FOMO, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
bruh, I want to see this Wilson setup that you brought, that you gifted.
Yeah.
Because I've never fished Lake Wilson. Mm-hmm. My brother lives in Waiwa.
Okay, well, we're going to change that.
Yeah, we're definitely. And I see these all the time, and I'm like, I don't know where to start with these kind of hooks.
For sure.
You wanted 8 pound, but I only have 10.
That's fine. For demonstration purposes. I'll pull out one of these guys. This is not one of my sponsors, so.
Okay.
But it works super good. And without giving it away, I mean, this is what it looks like, and I'm sure it's called a fluke. It's nothing crazy. It kind
of would it be fair to call this a grub?
Nope.
It's a big ass grub.
No, because a grub typically they're a curly tail.
Yeah.
So this has a fork tail. This is some juice. Okay. This is some wahiwa juice, bro. This is Let's
go.
This is some I catch plenty fish on this at wahiwa. So whoever learns something about wahiwa and catch fish. So okay, so these
you offset them.
Yeah. So this is a 2/0 EWG, which is it means extra wide gap. So you can tell by the hook itself has a pretty wide gap. So then what I'll do is I will slightly offset it, which just enough where the eyelet and the hook shank is different. So let's just get it onto this leader real quick. And however you want to tie this, you can either do improved clinch knot. I'll just do improved clinch knot just for speed purposes.
And you're not ever tying on the boat, are you? Or
oh yeah,
you are.
I mean, there's times where you'll break off and you need to, or re-rigging. Like if I make a leader and it's, if it gets frayed or something like that, then whatever knot you're comfortable doing. This is a improved clinch. So, and 10 pound test works, so you don't have to go super light. So you got your main line that goes to your rod, which is typically, I like to use a spinning rod, like 6'6", or anything a little bit less than 7 foot, just because the shorter the rod, the more accurate your cast can be, because you're going to be targeting trees that have fallen into the water along the bank, outcroppings, or some bank grass that goes into the water. You're going to be kind of throwing this bait around those areas. So the first thing you do is you get the tip side in, and this is called Texas rigging. So the tip side in, so where basically the end of the tip ends, where it starts to go into the deeper bend, and then you pull the tip out of the belly. Okay, run the bait all the way up to the eyelet, like this. So now the eyelet is completely covered.
Okay.
And then a little tip here is you line the bottom of the hook up along the bait like that. You get your thumb and you mark it with your thumb. You go in through the belly and then flush out through the top. And then the offset will pull it off to the side.
Damn.
But you want to make sure that it's centered.
So even though the hook's offset, it comes out in the center of the...
So even though it's offset, it's still straight. So it's important that it's still straight. Because then if it's bent over like this, it's not going to swim right. So you got to make sure the thing's straight up and down. And that way, if they come on and just lightly grab it or touch it, they're going to get hooked.
In the top lip then?
Yeah, in the top of the lip.
Side, okay.
And then you can, they call this texposing, but you can actually bury the hook too. Just the very tip of it. You just pull this forward.
Oh, then tuck it, just the tip.
And that way this is fully weedless. So if you're going to skip this underneath logs and whatever, you won't get hung up.
You won't snag.
And then you basically take that and just cast it underneath, and you just twitch. And it darts like this. It darts left and right. So this is also a great way to catch papio. So you can use this with a bubble float with papio. Instead of EWG, I would do a regular worm hook, straight shank worm hook, and then feed it out. So then your hook tip is either coming out through the top or on the bottom if you wanted to keel it. But this is the most effective for me when fishing Lake Wilson in targeting structure. So yeah, like I said, like lay down trees and
so again, I'm grasshopper, right? And I learned like in like my first year, right? There's whipping, dunking, sliding. What else is there? Even when we say whipping, it's really just cast and retrieve over and over.
Yeah. Like, so in freshwater, it's all you're doing is basically whipping, right? But it's just different techniques. So we would consider this, what are you doing? I'm like, for this bait right here, this would be considered a stick bait or a jerk bait. It's like, what are you doing? I'm jerk baiting. So it's like, that technique is called jerk bait. So you're jerk baiting. It's like, I'm throwing top water, or I'm throwing a popper. That's a popper. So I'm using a popper. So these little poppers, these are really good. These work really good on Lake Wilson too. These are available at Brian's Fishing Supply on King Street. So shout out to Brian's Fishing Supply. My brother Brent there. Brent will take good care of you, and he has a bunch of good freshwater lures there that are just for Lake Wilson. Those get bit really well too. And so every single technique that you use, you consider it like that's the technique you're doing. Versus in Hawaii, it's like, what you doing? We whipping.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that was my framework going in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's
too many. So it's like, what are you doing? I'm throwing a glide. Like, that's considered a glide bait. So it's like,
but I've seen certain rigs, bass fishing, where like there's no structure. You're out in 360 degrees. You're in water,
open water. Yeah.
And so it looks to me like, there's like a split shot or something, like a lead at the bottom. It kind of looks like a dunk rig.
Yeah. So it looks like a dunking rig or a bottom fishing rig. We call the rig is called drop shotting.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's the thing. A lot of the stuff that I'm learning, freshwater, 100% would apply in salt. And I haven't had a chance to experiment with it. So I think, for example, there's so many different ways we can catch moi that I've learned through freshwater fishing that no one's doing. That I know for a fact that moi would eat it.
Did you try it though?
No, I haven't had time yet.
You're too busy with your bowl.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's still moi season. It's so there's a lot of that. There's a lot of crossover there, and it's interesting. So our whipping rig in Hawaii, right, is egg lead or bubble float, and then you retrieve it fast mid column. The same rig in the mainland, they call it a Carolina rig, where it's egg lead and it's like a 3-foot leader, and then you can even Carolina rig a fluke, but typically it's like a creature bait, which either it's like a soft plastic lizard or long worm or something like that, and you drag it on the bottom. So
you're bouncing that egg lead off the bottom?
Off the bottom, slowly. You're like fishing it, like dragging it. Dragging it, yeah.
Because no more reef, that's why.
No more reef. You get hung up. You still, like, there's places where it's boulders, but then a lot of times you're using that to feel like, okay, I'm in mud. Because when you're using tungsten or a heavy line and a sensitive rod, I can tell when I'm going through mud, this is sand. Okay, that's rock. Okay, I'm going through a tree. Like, just through experience and like what my rod's telling me, I can feel all the different things that's going on down there. I'm in a brush pile. And so that's extremely useful technique that we fish completely different here in Hawaii.
Like, you would never, I guess there's certain places you could do the sandy or Carolina rig.
Exactly. You can Carolina rig through the sand. Let's say there's like nabetas, know.
Oh, yeah. Do you need to be on a boat though for those?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's a couple places that you can catch nabeta from shore, but I mean,
we won't say those.
Yeah, we won't mention those spots. But I mean, it's tough because you want to be in the nabeta. You need some depth.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's cool to see there's crossover. I think that there's a couple guys locally that understand that. So Jerry with Companion Lures.
Yeah.
So Jerry gets it. Shout out to Jerry.
Shout out to Jerry.
he understands that, yes, and it's cool to see him using a lot of freshwater bass stuff and then implementing it into the salt. Lures. Yeah. Oh, so like all his Awama stuff and like all those other, like the Frantic, which is a fluke bait.
See, that's funny because I like Jerry stuff. I've been buying companion lures, so I see this and I'm like, yeah,
it's a Frantic. It's the same thing. So Jerry, I mean, you know what you did, bro.
Hey, it's smart though.
So it's smart.
It's smart.
He's smart. It's a lure that works. Yeah. Rebrand it and put it out for a market that's not used to it. So the Hawaii market, they're like, bro, what is a fluke? What is that? Oh, no, it's one Frantic. Oh, I know that. You know? And it's because he marketed it and brought it in. So there's different ways of and I think it's cool. It's a really cool opportunity and a niche and a really great little company that, or it's not so little anymore, but it's cool to see how he's grown it. And, but yeah, I think there's a lot of different techniques like that would be really cool to try to implement here. Like I want to catch a mahi on a glide.
Have you tried?
I haven't yet. There's times
I feel like where you'd get on Aha or something.
Yeah, Aha would for sure smoke this. But I think once you get them around the boat, let's say if there was if they're schooled up or something like that, and you don't have a bait ready, or if you're trolling and you're just you're bringing in one mahi and you have 5 right behind it, you can literally just throw out a glide bait, click, 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 and just get eaten. Guarantee. They'd eat it.
They would eat that,
and especially the way that thing swims, where you can puppet it and drive that bait in a way where any type of predatory fish is going to see that and want to kill it.
Is that undulation? Is that the word?
Undulating is what the tail would be doing in the water. And typically when I use the word undulating, it's with a soft plastic. But I'm sure, I mean, there's still some type of undulation with a glide bait.
What's the word then for? I guess it's retrieval, but like
cadence.
Okay. Like I'm controlling how this thing swims.
Yeah.
Cadence.
It's the cadence you're imparting on that lure.
Okay. See, I knew I was asking the right guy. I didn't know. Because, I mean, I tried all the companion lures. Mm-hmm. And I've tried, the thing is too with like casting from shore, a lot of times you don't see it until it's close enough. But even if you're not elevated enough, you don't even see the play.
Yeah.
Or like you got to throw it in a tide pool and see kind of, okay, now I'm going to throw it out there.
Cast it out.
But with freshwater, I'm guessing, but like, I kind of like sight fishing where I can see.
This is going to be an ultimate fresh sight deal for you,
yeah.
Because you'll watch the bass come out and blow up on it. And I think that's the fun part for me, especially bass fishing in Hawaii by itself, is that it's so close quarter. It's very visual. So you'll watch a tucanary come out, chase that thing down, blow up on it, like literally at your feet. And you're like, you see like a 4-pounder do that. Like that's a big fish, that's a good sized fish that lives in the lake.
Wait, there's 4-pound tucanaries right now.
Yeah. 100%.
What's the record?
I don't know what the record is. I think a tucanary record for Hawaii is 9 pounds.
Oh,
I've caught one over 7.
In Wilson.
Yeah.
What about biggest bass then?
My biggest bass was Kauai. It was a 5-pounder with shout out Cash and all the boys. On
with the high school team.
High school team. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was on Waitaw Reservoir, and that was really cool. So that was my biggest freshwater largemouth. I caught a 4 1/4 smallmouth out of Ho'omalihia.
The one
Ho'os, in Kaneohe. Before, used to have a huge population of smallmouth bass in that pond.
Now it's just all koi.
Now it's mostly cichlids now. But I know a couple people that might have put in some tucanaries inside.
Wait.
Yeah, so
you can fish there? I didn't.
Not legally, but
okay.
I mean, there's ways. But like, for instance, right? We were talking about different rigging.
Yeah.
So just with a different hook style, this is how I would rig this for whipping with a bubble float.
Okay.
So exposed hook on the surface. And that way, when you're whipping with a bubble float or an egg lead, you're not really hanging up on anything. Versus the importance of fishing it with a weedless style hook. That way, you're able to put it in places that those fish are living and ambushing.
So would you say that the bigger fish are more seasoned, more likely to have been caught, smarter?
Yes.
You could say.
100%.
And so they're harder.
Yes.
They pick up, oh shit, there's a boat.
Yeah.
I better hide.
Well,
Like,
I think like any other creature, right? We associate certain feelings or with certain sounds and sensories. So when they feel the boat getting closer, they know you're there. It's certain places that don't get as much pressure. Those fish are going to be more dumb. The fish in Lake Wilson, yeah, there's still 4-pounders in there, but they're hard to catch. You have to be able to make that perfect cast. Doesn't make too big of a splash. Make the cadence perfect where it triggers that fish to eat, because they're predatory animals. There's times where they're not going to want to feed. Like they're going to be in a neutral feeding space. But if you were to present something, it triggers a natural response. And they call it a reaction bite. So what you can trigger a natural innate response within the bass to eat, even though they're not hungry.
wow, a reaction bite.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Are they territorial? Like, get the fuck out of here, little fish?
Yeah. It could be a mixture of territorial behavior. It could be a mixture of just aggression. I mean, bass are jerks. They're bullies, bro. They really are.
Do they, like, you know how they say, like, I don't know, like a whale will eat half its weight in krill in a day or something? Like, what's the bass, like, they eat their own weight a day?
Well, they eat their own, that's for sure. So that's why baby bass, this is literally baby bass color. You know, they're nuts. The bigger bass, they will eat fewer times because they try to go for a bigger meal. So they'll eat one baby duck and be okay. You know?
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Damn.
Google it.
Anything that fits down the hatch.
Oh, bro, I've had them spit up blackbirds in my live well. I've had them spit up rats in my live well. I've had them spit up a snake, like a live gardener snake. I'm like, oh, I like see the snake's head sticking out.
What?
Bro, they're nuts, dude. I'm saying, like, I have baits that imitate a rat swimming on the surface.
So anything
Frogs,
moving,
toads, anything.
Just game.
Yep.
And even if they're not hungry, maybe they'll
check it out.
Yeah.
You have to present it the right way for them to eat it. And then for the bite windows for a trophy size bass, they're shorter and the conditions have to be right because they're more conditioned and they've been caught a few times.
So I know you compete, I should say, in tournaments, right? At the highest level. But there's still just the dude with his son fishing. Basically, how do you record a record bass?
It depends on the state. It has to be the scale has to be a qualified scale for whether it's an IGFA record or if it's a state record. Typically, you can get a scale. I forgot the terminology. What is like the stamp of approval of a certain scale.
Okay.
It has to be weighed on dry land. And then you have to have, whether it's a DLNR officer or whatever state you're in, a ranger has to come out and verify it. And then there's photos and there's a couple other things, measurements and whatnot. And then then you submit it to whatever state that you're submitting it to. They have their questioning and their qualifications for a record, and then whether you make the record or not.
So there's a governing body.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because otherwise people would be like, "Oh, bro, my 15-pounder." It's like, yeah, guaranteed. Sure, yeah, exactly. Fishermen just in general, bro, we just like stretch the truth.
Well, I mean, we see obviously Fort's perspective in photos and stuff like that, but for the actual, I caught a 2.5 pound to'al. Okay?
Solid.
And I was like, this is monster right there.
Close to record for sure.
Even this guy, this Waianae brother was there. Yeah. Just random because he was fishing more down there.
Yeah.
He came over, so he was talking, and then boom, strike, bing. I was like, bruh. He was like, him too. He's like, bro, that's, so we looked it up, right?
Yeah.
Hawaii state record for to'al, right?
What was it?
It was like, I want to say like.
High two?
Yeah. So like, I was like,
right
maybe
there.
a 4 ounce. Was it 2? No, it was close. Like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, that's the closest I've ever been to a state record, right?
Uh-huh.
But that made me question, like, who's maintaining this? And
there's a database. There is.
That's the one I ended up at.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know who is that. And I don't know, like, do they vote people in? Like, what kind of, so I'm sure when you compete,
Yeah.
This is just when brought up on the shore catching a fish, right?
Mhm.
But like if you're competing, obviously there's wardens or marshals with you and like videos, and there's a lot more controllable. But for that guy who's just out there fishing, like if he catches one, what does he have to do? So he has to do that thing you just said, call somebody.
Well, it's like a lot of times the record is so hard to reach. Like it's a once in a lifetime fish, and it rarely happens. So most of the time you'll hear the word PB, personal best.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times in the fishing space, people take photos of their PB, get measurements, and then release it. And that's their trophy. And then it gets shared on Instagram and social media. Right. And then that's the ribbon. That's like the moment of like,
because especially with bass, it's like you don't keep those fish.
No.
And so like if you wanted to, and if you, let's say you didn't have a live well, like you're going to either kill them and wait for the guy to say, oh, no, that's not a record.
Yeah. Good job. You just killed.
Good.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Or what? There's no tide pool or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It's funny because so there's that stigma around bass fishing because it's a game fish that people should catch and release it. Especially in the bass fishing world, it's frowned upon to harvest fish and eat bass. I've had bass before, pretty good. You know, it depends on where you eat, like where they're from.
Yeah.
So clear, clean water, whether it's a clean river or a lake, then it's different. You know, but again, being a player in the space, I'm not trying to ruffle no feathers.
Yeah.
So I'll wait. I won't eat bass. I'll wait till I come home and be able to catch mahi with you. I mean, the thing that gets me is that we have a small resource right here on Lake Wilson, which anyone that, you know, grew up in Hawaii or lived in Wahiawa like knows. Lake Wilson is not the cleanest of places.
You're not, yeah.
But there's people that harvest fish out of there. And it's illegal to take bass from Lake Wilson. Yet I see people, and I've caught poachers personally, where they're loading up a mesh bag full of peacock bass and then they sell them on the black market. That's the part where I'm just like, bro, like, come on. Like, we only have this one lake to fish.
Always going to be that guy, though.
Yeah.
Too much OP.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
always the one who thinks, nah, just me. Just one time.
No, but it's a reoccurring thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What, like troll net? How does
he just uses live bait. It's like a group of them. They just live bait and then they just load them up.
So they're dunking live bait or trolling or...
No, just dunking it from shore. Wow. I mean, if you want to catch bass, like on Wilson, you can literally just go and catch. There's no regulation. Hawaii is completely legal to use live bait. So you can use tilapia, baby tilapia works, madakas, little guppies, goldfish, whatever you want. And peacock bass will eat them. And it's super fun. So if you're trying to get kids out and like just trying to hook something, this is the fight. Yeah, use a little float and a small little hook. Don't use a big EWG, but like a small little hook and hook it through the nose or the lip and throw it out there and
action
for the most part.
What about worms?
Yeah, that works too. You'll catch a lot of different stuff with that. So like earthworms, you'll catch the red devils, which is that red cichlid. You'll catch catfish. And there's a couple other random species in Wilson. I mean, there's a bunch of random stuff in there.
Yeah, but to your point about eating it, I'm like,
yeah, no, it's like, it's an experience and then you could just let it go. I love that, you know, your honesty too about it, because some people don't, when it comes to like fishing, right? It's an animal. And I think fish get sort of this, I don't know, for a human to think about a fish, it's like you don't think about a fish the way, especially Americans, the way you think about another animal. A dog.
It's a cat, dog, birds, like fish, they don't feel pain. They're not smart, like, but we know this isn't true.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And so I think it's easy to just think of them as like, oh, just fruits on the tree, just take as much as I like.
There's more disassociation, right?
Disassociation,
because we don't, it's like a scaly thing that lives in a different
it doesn't blink.
Environment.
It doesn't, well, they do make sounds, but like disassociation. I think they get the short end of the stick on that, and it makes it easier for these kind of wrongdoers to then just like decimate.
Well, like those night divers that got caught at Waimea,
For real?
Yeah, there's like 9 of them.
What were they going out? Like,
Well, there's a
trap net or?
no, they're 3-pronging at night, but in a marine preserve. Like, there's nothing wrong with night diving, but like,
Not
just
at
don't do it in a marine preserve. There's a marine preserve.
Hanama Bay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so
Basically, that's the thing about the good and bad too about Oahu being the most populated of our islands is that, bro, somebody gonna say something. They see you doing something you're not supposed to do.
I'm glad people, like, when it comes to that stuff, it's like the fish don't have someone to speak up for them. Like, there's no guardian looking out for them.
Yeah.
There's not like one massive honu out there that's like they're
Checking everybody.
It's like when Moke honu just like rolls up. Somebody, get your license.
Come on, let me see papers.
Yeah, let me see papers. What? That kole looks a little undersized. But yeah, there's nothing like that. And so I think being good stewards of the land, I think it's important to look out. And so everyone on Lake Wilson that loves bass fishing, they look out for those guys. They definitely do. They're like, oh, bro, I seen that, I caught so-and-so again. And we patrol it as much as, when like DLNR, they're not going to, I would love to see them more on Lake Wilson, checking licenses and making sure that there's guys not poaching.
It comes down to the members of the community.
Exactly.
Contributing to that same collective fight. Well, sustainability, right?
Yeah, sustainability. Just because it was one of the first places that I became comfortable fishing, and it was a spot that my dad took me, and my dad used to fish it when he was younger. So it's just a thing where generationally, I would love to be able to do that with my kids eventually, and when you have people that are just taking for their own benefit, whether they're eating it or if they're selling it, that's not sustainably harvesting. Versus in the ocean, it's gonna repopulate as long as you're adhering to bag limit and size. That's a whole deep topic that
because the whole like fishing has just made me love this place that we call home even more, in more ways than just preserving fish or everything that has to do with passing on to next generations. And that really goes beyond fishing. That really goes beyond the ocean. That really goes beyond even just people. Like, I feel like the esoteric nature of fishing that we're kind of alluding to earlier is the same one that surfers feel. Is the same one that people who hunt feel. And it's kind of like a nice way for us to, it's weird because it feels like unplugging.
Yeah.
Like we unplug from all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But you're actually really plugging into Avatar style.
Yeah.
Like you're really plugging into Avatar style. And that's the feet and the lo'i feeling, right? Yeah. The bite feeling. Like, boom, that's that connection. And
it's the primitive feeling, right? It's like we tap into this, our ancestral space where we're like immersed in nature, and we are now a part of it. Like you said, Avatar connection. You're like, brah, okay. And it was cool that you said it earlier. It was when you're talking about your story in Japan, where it was so quiet, it's loud. Like the silence is now, everything is heightened. Your senses are heightened. And I think that's something that's so special about all the things that, like fishing, hunting, diving, it's the connection that you get that is one, you can't describe it.
It's very hard to.
It's hard to, and especially when certain moments happen, like in fishing, like the whole double mahi thing. It's like, how can and when it happened, you're just like, it's the feeling that you get, and it's so rewarding.
And I was in my bibbities too.
And using his bibbities, this guy.
You're
gonna put the photo up, bro. You got to.
I got it at this point. Like, I caught my first mahi in my bibbities, and then
so
and
awesome.
Then we double hooked up.
Yeah,
and that was just nuts. Hey, but Matty, I want you to go plug all your stuff, tell people where they can find you. Okay. Also, what's up with this? Because I went.
That's awesome.
They only had like 2 or 3, I think. That was like Matty Wong.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Well,
because they had more. So
yeah, if you want to see or support me through, I do have some merchandise with, there's a brand called Lateral Vision that helps me out. And so lateralvisionbrand.com. And then if you type in Matty Wong, there's a whole capsule that I helped design This Aloha shirt being one of them. It's cool because they've been a huge support with me. They're stewards of the sport and also of the environment. They're supporting me by helping me with these products, and then they give me the profit, in turn supporting me while I'm on the road. So if you guys want to get any Matty Wong merch, lateralvisionbrand.com. And then if you want to follow me on my journey, whether I'm traveling or on the elites, you can follow me on Instagram at Matty_Wong. The organization, if you want to read more into it, that I fish for is called Bassmasters. So bassmaster.com, and you can follow along on the Elite Tour. There's a link on there, and it shows you the full schedule. They air it in season on Fox Sports 1, and then they also do it in studio broadcast on the website, and then on YouTube, Matty Wong Fishing, and yeah, man.
Oh yeah, dude.
Thank you for letting me plug it, and
of course, man. I want to support you, and you know how Hawaii is. We like to support our own, right? People from Hawaii who do things that first pro bass fishermen from Hawaii, like.
So there's one guy that I actually. So his name's Gary Yamamoto.
Okay.
Gary Yamamoto, he's a bait maker. But after doing a bit of research, Gary's from Kauai.
So, wait, you mean Gary's acted like a bait maker across the nation?
Yeah, so now he's retired, and he's a rancher, and he lives in Texas.
Okay.
So he didn't come back to Kauai. But I think he went to Kauai High, and then he didn't. I'm the first one from Hawaii to win the Bass Nation National Championship. And so I gotta give credit where credit's due. To shout out to Uncle Gary Yamamoto for what he's been able to do. Mm-hmm. But I will say I am the only and current professional bass angler from Hawaii.
There you go. Shout out to the OGs.
Yeah,
Uncle Gary.
Gotta give the credit where it's due. And so I put it upon myself to be a good steward of Aloha, and thus the shirt. It's something that's really, it's deeper than just a branding thing. I have it, and a lot of us that grew up here, it's like we have it in us. I'm responsible for spreading it. You got to spread it.
The fact that you are a lot of times by yourself on the road, literally everywhere from Texas all the way up to Maine, mm-hmm. and just everything in between there. You literally are like Johnny Appleseeding Aloha all over that part of the nation, right?
Yeah.
Every time when you let the kids grab the fish out of your bag, or you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh man, that's spreading that Aloha spirit. And it's kind of like our steward. We can be stewards of the Aloha spirit as well.
Yeah.
I see you doing that very well.
Thank you, bro. Aloha comes in many forms. And I think there's ways that they're like, wait, what does Aloha mean? And you're like, well, you're showing me Aloha right now, you know?
They just don't call it that.
They don't call it that. And so whether it's called Southern Hospitality or in Japan, it's, you know, I don't know the Japanese term.
There's an equivalent there. Like when you said mana earlier.
Yeah.
I was like, that's right. That was the mana I was feeling on that horseback ride. Like, yeah, different labels, but we know.
Yeah, it's all the same. Yeah. But it's, you know, and it's just, it will transcend geographically where you are. There's still that same energy. And so I just try to be good representative of it, and I always try to encourage kids. So like again, I want to give a shout out to Hawaii's only high school bass club, and these are all the boys that are on Kauai. So shout out to them, and just keep plugging, man.
So what how do they compete?
They're competing with their own club with amongst themselves, but because they are a club now that's registered with a certain federation, they can now travel to the mainland and compete against other high school teams. And so I've been trying to help facilitate, you know, getting them boats and getting them in contact with people that can get, you know, help them along their journey. And that's been really rewarding for me. But it's another avenue for, you know, for these kids that don't really have much and are limited because of, you know, the type of bass fishing in Hawaii. People like, you know, like what? But it's a way that these kids can go on full ride scholarships to college.
Really?
Bass fishing. Yeah. Like Auburn University in Alabama is like one of the biggest bass fishing programs, and there's a lot of schools, a lot. I don't know if it's in hundreds, but there's a lot of schools that are giving out scholarships for bass fishing.
Wow.
Yeah. It's huge.
So fishing clubs at the collegiate level, NCAA? Or
I don't know if it's considered NCAA, like, because it's Bassmasters has its own college bracket.
Oh, okay. I see.
And so then that
okay.
is a feeder into the elites that I'm fishing now.
So you're competing with guys who might have came up through
college. Yeah.
And
so there's like a handful of guys that came up through college that did well and then either won a national championship to qualify for the elites or got in through the opens and then going in and winning there.
Wow.
Yeah. So
these boys in Kauai have that opportunity.
They have that opportunity, and they can one, get a good education, and then two, fish.
Yeah.
You know, which is crazy. And it's something that, you know, I love the fact of being able to provide and give fish to friends and family. And then obviously the tug is a drug. It's super addicting and it's really fun. But the cool thing is being able to actually turn it into a way that, one, you can either get your education paid for, or two, what I'm doing now, which I never thought in a million years I'd be doing, is making it a full-time career. It's nuts, man. It really is. And so I want to, shout out to those boys. Yeah. And anyone who's chasing something that maybe could be something that's not stereotypically something that we do in Hawaii. You know, don't let anyone poo-poo your dreams. You know, like just go out there and do it. You know, kind of like what you were talking about with one of your previous guests, is just putting it out there and just starting.
Just focus on the next rep.
Yep. Focus on the next rep,
and cast.
Everything else will work itself out.
Hey, the freaking professional over here, not just fisherman professional, but just all over the place. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I think a lot of people who, not just Hawaii, obviously we in Hawaii, from Hawaii, but like Japan too. Like eventually I want to have this kind of translated in Japanese and have more Japanese guests on. But the things that we talk about are that kind of universal drive, that chasing, that building of your dream, what you want to do. And you exemplify what it means to chase and build the dream. So thank you, Matty Wong.
Oh, it's going to be great. Dude, thank you so much. And I think it's amazing that what you're doing and being able to share these stories and it's cool. It's not only entertaining, but it's really inspirational. And I think there's not a lot of different avenues where people can actually tell their story. And so
thank you. Thanks for sharing yours.
Thanks for having me. Okay, you guys have a good one.